Everyone harbors one or two secrets they'd rather keep hidden. I'm no exception. Back in the day, I was quite the wild child. Losing my parents at 15, I quickly went astray and joined a gang of troublemakers. Thanks to my dad's insistence on teaching me wrestling since childhood, I gained a reputation for overwhelming strength, surpassing even the boys. However, my life in that world came to an end after meeting a certain person. But living such a life inevitably accumulates lingering issues. Now, at 35, my name is Nancy. I live as an ordinary housewife, working at a local supermarket. With my light makeup and quiet demeanor, no one would guess that I once wore flashy makeup and rode around on motorcycles. Yes, I was a member of a delinquent group and even the leader of a ladies' gang. But then I met my husband, Joshua, and everything changed. It all started 10 years ago during a clash with a rival gang when Joshua unexpectedly intervened. That gang used to start fights at every gathering, and one day, a particularly fierce brawl broke out. Joshua joined in to save his brother, a member of the rival gang. As members of both groups fell, Joshua and I were the last ones standing. I even remember Joshua laughing at his mistake, realizing his brother wasn't even there. His dignified appearance somehow struck me, and I found myself speaking to him. "Hey, you're pretty cool. I mean, really, looking like this, you must have some strange tastes. Were you calling out for someone named No? Did you find him?" I asked. "No, it turns out my brother wasn't here," he replied. That's how our slow, private conversation began. Joshua's brother, it seems, was an irredeemable delinquent. Joshua had even taken up boxing to try to reform him. He admitted he couldn't stand to ignore wrongdoing. Through our conversation, we grew close, and over time, it became clear that we had feelings for each other. But back then, Joshua despised delinquents. Despite our mutual attraction, my involvement in the delinquent world prevented our relationship from progressing. Finally, Joshua said that if I left the gang for good, he'd want to be with me. Tired of the senseless fights, I took the opportunity to leave the group. We started dating and got married 5 years later. The group I was part of disbanded, crushed by a rival faction 2 years after. After marrying Joshua, I underwent a complete transformation, evolving into a calm and graceful woman. However, our peaceful life was recently threatened by a certain neighbor, Joshua's sister, Sonia, and her husband. One morning, as I was seeing Joshua off to work, the doorbell rang. Who could that be? I thought, and I decided to check. The next moment, Joshua looked surprised. It's Sonia, he mentioned, referring to his sister, whom I had met once at a family dinner. Hey, Joshua, we've moved next door starting today. Please take care of us. Hello, I'm Tony, Sonia's husband. Well, looking forward to your cooperation, they both greeted, starting off with a disrespectful attitude. But since Sonia was Joshua's sister, I couldn't be too confrontational. We got along well with the in-laws, so I didn't want to cause unnecessary trouble. However, it turned out that Tony was the person who lured Joshua's brother, Noah, into the delinquent world. They both went to the same high school and were a year junior to Joshua. Joshua turned 34 this year, so they must be 33. Sonia, 3 years younger than Joshua, should be 31. Too bad about your brother, huh, Tony? Sonia remarked. I don't care about Noah anymore, even you, Joshua, she continued. Joshua was visibly angry. His brother had passed away due to a fight. Joshua's brother and sister apparently never got along well. Sonia felt neglected in favor of her brother and developed a rivalry, which eventually extended to Joshua as well. Joshua once mentioned how difficult it was to deal with his sister, preferring to focus only on his brother. Like me, Sonia was also a former member of a delinquent group. Unlike her, Noah was forcibly recruited by Tony. Seeing his siblings' transformation, Joshua probably grew even stronger in his sense of justice. As the three of them glared at each other, I spoke up from behind Joshua. Joshua, you need to leave for work soon. He snapped out of his reverie. Oh, right. Running away, he muttered, remembering his responsibilities. I haven't forgotten that you laid hands on me. That was because you attacked Noah. All right, both of you, enough. We're done here. Sonia's words cut through the tension. Joshua left for work, the conflict still unresolved. At the same time, the bell tolling the start of Sonia and her husband's harassment began. An hour after Joshua left for work, the doorbell rang, but when I checked, no one was there. An hour later, there was a loud noise at the entrance, as if something was violently placed there. When I looked, there was a heap of cardboard boxes dumped in front of the door. What's this about? I muttered to myself, but no one was around. So, I decided to ignore it and went back inside. Then, I heard a small popping sound from the balcony. I hurried over and found 3 broken eggs. We live in an apartment on the corner, next to the room Sonia just moved into. This meant the harassment likely came from Sonia's room, as there are no neighbors on one side and it's too high for someone from below. Anger rising, I confronted my next-door neighbors. "Hey, is that you? What do you want, showing up like this?" I demanded. Sonia greeted me with an irritable demeanor. "Is this your idea of a prank, throwing eggs on our balcony?" It had to be Sonia or her husband. The angle only made sense from Sonia's balcony. But Sonia glared at me, replying, "What? Don't be absurd, lady. You got proof we did it. Make false accusations and I'll call the cops." Despite being a former gang member, her reliance on the police in such a situation seemed second-rate to me. "I have no proof, but the way the eggs are scattered, they could only come from your balcony," I asserted, frustration evident in my voice. I struggled to remain calm, but Sonia kept glaring and arguing back. "Proof? That's weak," she scoffed. Then Tony chimed in. Hey, just because you're Joshua's wife doesn't mean you'll get any special treatment." If Sonia was second-rate, Tony's words were no better. He might have thought he was intimidating, but to me, it was not frightening at all. I could feel my old self stirring, but I didn't want to revert to my past. So I played the role of a meek, unassuming woman and said quietly, "Please don't raise your voice." Inwardly, I wanted to deliver a roundhouse kick right then and there to snap that foolish neck. But having reformed after meeting Joshua, I didn't want to throw away all my efforts for something like this. Seeing my reaction, they both burst into laughter in front of me. "Aha, so you're Joshua's wife. I thought you'd be something special, but you're just a dull woman," Sonia sneered. "Weak. Tony was giving you too much credit. At the family dinner, you seemed like a real introvert." Holding back my rising anger, I was told, "Go on, leave," and the door was closed on me. I stood there, staring at the closed door, feeling a mix of frustration and disappointment. I pondered telling Joshua, but I knew that even if he spoke to Sonia, they'd just feign ignorance. It would only result in more harassment and frustration for me, so I decided against it. The next day and the day following, the harassment from Sonia and her husband continued. It always began after Joshua left for work. "Who dumped this garbage at our doorstep? It must be those two," I muttered to myself as I prepared to leave for work at the supermarket. The door got stuck halfway, blocked by a bag of garbage. I reluctantly took it to the disposal area and then headed to work. 5 hours later, I returned home to find something unbelievable. There was a cardboard box in front of the door, arranged like a table. On either side of the box, lit candles were placed, and in the center, a vase with flowers was set on the door. Above, a photo of me, taken who knows when, was stuck. They were mocking me as if I was deceased. Furious, I was about to kick the cardboard away when Joshua called from behind. Startled, I turned around to find Joshua, who had come home from work. "You're an hour early," I exclaimed. "I got off work early today. What's all this?" Joshua was also surprised at the sight in front of the door. We quickly cleaned up the cardboard and candles from the shared hallway and went inside. There, I told Joshua everything that had happened. "It's likely Sonia and her husband, but we don't have any proof. So even if we confront them, they'll just deny it," I explained. After a moment of thought, Joshua had an idea. "Let's buy cameras. One for the balcony and one for the entrance, especially hidden well at the entrance," he suggested. I agreed with Joshua's suggestion. There was a limit to how much more we could endure. We immediately purchased cameras online and had them delivered to Joshua's workplace to avoid suspicion. "For now, we'll just have to endure until the cameras arrive. Then we can retaliate with evidence." "Understood," Joshua said firmly. So, I bore the harassment from Sonia's house for the next couple of days. For most people, endurance means being unable to fight back due to lack of strength or fear. But for me, it was different. I was holding back the urge to retaliate in a world where using force was permissible. I would have already intervened with those two if I could, but not being able to act on it was incredibly frustrating. 3 days later, Joshua came home with the cameras. "Any trouble since?" he asked. "The usual. Today they even threw a fish head onto the balcony," I replied. Let's set up the cameras right away. Put one behind the air conditioning unit on the balcony, aiming at Sonia's balcony. We'll hide another near the fire extinguisher by the entrance. The day after installing the cameras, Sonia's antics started again as Joshua left for work. I monitored everything through a recording app. Sure enough, the two of them began their antics. I silently observed and left for work when it was time. 2 hours into my shift at the supermarket, Sonia lined up at my register. Well, if it isn't my sister-in-law, she said with a tone that made it clear she knew it was me, her demeanor dripping with condescension. I silently scanned the items as Sonia continued. Aren't you a bit cold for a cashier? Shouldn't you be more hospitable? Come on, give me a discount on this. Other customers lined up behind Sonia, watching our interaction with concerned expressions. Hey, I'm not a scarecrow, you know, a middle-aged man in line spoke up to Sonia. Can't you see she's uncomfortable? Sonia whirled around, glaring fiercely. Shut up. It's none of your business, she suddenly yelled at him. The man seemed completely deflated by Sonia's outburst and quietly left the line. I then addressed Sonia for the first time. Ma'am, if you continue to behave inappropriately, I'll have to call security. I spoke in a calm but icy tone, perhaps mindful of the others watching. Sonia retorted, Geez, it's just a joke. So disappointing, and left the store, abandoning her items halfway through the transaction. The other customers stared in astonishment. My anger was just about to boil over when I returned home after work. There was a notice on the door. Useless cashier. That was it. I couldn't take it anymore. I ripped off the note in frustration and waited anxiously for Joshua to return. After Joshua got home, we reviewed the footage from the cameras. It clearly recorded Sonia and her husband's misdeeds. Now we can fight back. All right, let's go now. Anger filled Joshua's eyes. When we rang Sonia's doorbell, Tommy answered. You two again. What do you want this time? Sonia appeared behind them. What do you want, Joshua? The two of them asked lazily. We finally began our counterattack. You two. As I started to speak, Joshua stopped me and stepped forward. I recounted. Nancy, let me handle this. Sonia and Tony were taken aback as Joshua continued. If you harass us any further, it won't end well for you. Tony retorted. What? You want to fight? Do you even have proof we did anything? Before Tony could finish, Joshua started playing the video saved in the recording app. This is video capturing your wrongdoings. We had to install cameras because your harassment was too much. This silenced the usually talkative pair. Sonia, showing a hint of panic, turned to Tony. Tony, frowning deeply, glared back at us. Damn it, you got us this time. The trouble started from your end, remember? I said with a serious face. Tony retorted, so we settle this with force, huh? Wait there, Joshua. I'm calling someone. Call whoever you want. We'll be ready. Joshua stood firm, undeterred as the situation escalated. Tony desperately pleaded into the phone. William, I need backup now. His tone was completely different from the bravado he showed us, repeatedly begging for help. After hanging up, he turned back to us. Get ready, Willie. The most notorious guy around here is on his way. He smirked at us, convinced of his imminent victory. But relying on someone else's strength showed his true cowardice. Why don't you confront us directly? Joshua challenged. Keep talking. I know your strength well. I called a special guest this time to ensure you both feel real terror. What a pitiful sight it was. No matter how much they threatened, neither Joshua nor I felt any fear. You must be too scared to even speak. The quiet and meek Nancy, right? Sonia taunted me with a condescending tone. 5 minutes later, the much bragged about William arrived. However, he looked surprised when he saw us. William, over here. Long time no see, Joshua greeted him. Sonia and Tony were visibly excited, having high expectations of him. But their expectations were quickly shattered. What's going on here? Indeed, long time no see, Will. My calling him left Sonia and Tony with puzzled expressions. Joshua also greeted him. It's been a while, Will. The couple looked even more confused by this interaction. Confused? Tony asked. What's this? How do you know, William? As Tony spoke with sweat on his forehead, Will looked back and forth between us. I simply said to him, well, let's not do this, okay? Hearing this, an angry Tony retorted, don't joke around, William. Please do something. Sonia and Tony were frantic, unable to grasp the situation. But then Will addressed them. Hey, don't tell me you mess with Nancy. His question left the couple momentarily stunned. So what if we did? Tony answered hesitantly. Furious, Will shouted, "Idiots! Don't you know who you're messing with?" His rebuke left them standing frozen. They clearly had no idea what was going on. Seeing this, I turned to Joshua and said, "Hey, Joshua, can I reverted to my old self from 15 years ago, just for now?" Instead of Joshua, it was Will who turned and responded, "Nancy, please don't. If you do something to them, it might end up more than just an injury." Will cautioned me. "What, you're giving me orders now?" I replied, taken aback. No, I didn't mean it like that," he quickly clarified. Seeing the special guests they called for help, Sonia and Tony were bewildered. "What's happening here?" Their faces turned pale as Will spoke. "Do you two know about BBN?" he asked. "Yeah, it's famous. It stands for Black Butterfly Nancy, right? The nickname of the former leader of a ladies' group," Sonia confirmed. "That's right, and this lady here is Nancy herself," Will revealed. Sonia and Tony were shocked. "No way, really?" They both lost their bravado in an instant. Continuing, Will said, "Back then, I led another delinquent group, but we were decimated by Nancy's group. She could take down 30 people by herself." Sonia and Tony now looked at me fearfully. It made sense. They had been harassing someone who they thought was inferior, only to find out she was the leader of a ladies' group they themselves had once belonged to. "I didn't know Nancy is practically a legend," Sonia admitted. "We joined the group 6 months after you left," Sonia said, indicating that she and Tony had joined the group half a year after I had left. Will had been scouted by me and stayed in the group even after my departure. And looking after Sonia and Tony as their senior, he left the group just before it was decimated by a rival group. By that time, Tony had taken over as the leader and was the last leader before its downfall. "Before you ruined it, it was an invincible group. You can't match Nancy," Tony proclaimed. "How could this? Tony was increasingly cornered and distressed by Will's revelations. "Well, the group that took you down is now the strongest in New York State. But if Nancy was still active, she would still be the strongest," Will remarked. Sonia and Tony collapsed, their spirits broken. Seeing this, Will turned to me and apologized. "Please forgive them for my sake." Watching Will apologize, Sonia and Tony had completely lost their will to fight. They never imagined their call for help would backfire this way. "All right, but you'll have to settle your dues properly," I glared at the two of them. "For 1 month, you'll clean this apartment and our balcony that you dirtied. If you skip even 1 day, I won't be so forgiving next time." "Okay," Sonia managed to stutter out her agreement, completely intimidated. Tony, unable to speak, just kept nodding frantically. Watching them, Will commented, "No one can really stand up to Nancy." Hearing this, the silent Joshua finally spoke, "But I hate delinquents. If Nancy hadn't reformed, I wouldn't be here." Looking down a bit, Joshua said softly, and I peered up at him. "Don't worry, I won't show that side of me again." Will burst into laughter at this scene, and we all ended up laughing together. Will and Joshua knew each other because the three of us had met after I left the group. We bumped into Will while on a date and had tea together. "Well, now that's settled, why don't you come over for dinner?" I suggested. We three left Sonia and Tony slumped by the entrance and headed to our apartment. Before entering, Joshua added, "Sonia, you're my sister, so I'll let this slide just this once. But there won't be a next time." Watching him, I wondered if he too was hiding the same fighting spirit as us. From that day, the harassment from Sonia and her husband completely stopped. As promised, I continued cleaning our balcony and the common areas of the apartment, though just delinquents doing chores. Other residents sometimes looked at them curiously, but that soon stopped. After a month, Sonia and her husband left the apartment without a word. Even Joshua, their blood relative, didn't know where they went. They probably left feeling awkward about staying in the same place. We had no reason to get involved further and thought they finally made a wise decision. Finally, we had our peaceful life back. Though neighborhood troubles are common, I never thought I'd be directly involved. At least it was resolved amicably. I have a past I'd rather keep hidden. Joshua has kept it secret all this time. I'm not ashamed of all my past, but I have reflected on my mistakes. I just want to cherish my life with Joshua now, and I hope to live without ever showing my true nature to anyone again. That's all I'm thinking about now.
The call came at 2 a.m. on a Tuesday. I was still at my desk, spreadsheets burning my retinas, when Mom's ringtone shattered the silence. My stomach dropped. She never calls this late. Harper, baby, I'm so sorry to wake you. Her voice trembled. I heard Dad in the background, his usual stoic tone cracking with what sounded like, was he crying? What's wrong? I sat up straighter, fully awake now. The furnace, it's completely dead. And the roof, oh God, Harper, it's been leaking for months. We tried to handle it ourselves, but... She broke into sobs. We're drowning. The bank. They're talking foreclosure. I'm Harper, by the way. 29, financial analyst, and apparently the family's perpetual safety net. The responsible one. The strong one. The one who's been working 60-hour weeks for 3 years to save for her own house, but who's about to do something monumentally stupid. How much? I asked, already pulling up my banking app. Dad came on the line. Princess, we can't ask you. How much, Dad? The silence stretched. Finally, $27,000. My entire house fund. Every extra shift, every skipped vacation, every brown bag lunch. I stared at my laptop screen, at the bookmark labeled Dream House Listings. The contractor needs half up front, Mom added quickly. We've tried everything else. Your father's been picking up extra shifts at the warehouse, but his back. I'm transferring it now, I said, fingers moving automatically. Text me the account number. More crying, more gratitude. Dad's voice thick with emotion. You're an angel, sweetheart. We'll pay you back every penny, I swear. I ended the call and sat in my dark apartment, watching the confirmation screen blink. $27,000. Gone. But they're my parents, right? What else could I do? The next morning, I called my boyfriend Max. You did what? He nearly choked on his coffee. They needed help, I said, defensive. You should have heard Dad crying. Babe, that was your house fund. We were going to look at that craftsman next weekend. I know. I pressed my forehead against the cool kitchen counter. But they're about to lose everything. Mom said they've been sleeping in the basement because the upstairs is so cold. Max was quiet for a moment. Okay, but promise me you'll get everything in writing. Payment plan, timeline, all of it. I promised, but when I texted Dad about it later, he seemed hurt. Don't you trust us, Princess? We're family. The guilt was instant, crushing. Of course I trusted them. They'd raised me, sacrificed for me. Asking for paperwork felt wrong. 3 weeks passed, radio silence from my parents, but I assumed they were busy with contractors. I threw myself into work, trying not to think about my decimated savings account. Then came the Instagram notification. Sage Ortiz tagged you in a post. My sister. Whatever. Probably another inspirational quote or smoothie bowl. I almost didn't check it. But I did. The first photo? Saige in a flowing dress, twirling in front of the Coliseum. Caption, Roma, I'm in love. My thumb froze. What? I scrolled. Photo after photo appeared. Saige in a gondola in Venice. Saige wine tasting in Tuscany. Saige at the Trevi Fountain, at the Spanish Steps, at some coastal town I couldn't pronounce. Caption, Can't believe I'm living my bucket list dream, thanks Mom and Dad. The timestamp. 2 days after my transfer. My phone slipped from my numb fingers. The room spun. $27,000. My house fund. Their emergency. Her dream vacation. I called Mom. Straight to voicemail. I called Dad. Same thing. I texted both. Need to talk about the house repairs. Now. Mom replied an hour later. Oh, sweetie, it wasn't that expensive to fix. Don't worry about it. I stared at my phone, bile rising in my throat. The furnace, the roof, the foreclosure, the tears. All of it, every single word, had been a lie. My hands shook as I opened my banking app again. The transfer was there, mocking me. Emergency house repairs. Mom and Dad. Except it wasn't for repairs. It was for my little sister's Italian adventure. The golden child's bucket list trip, funded by the responsible daughter's dreams. My phone buzzed. Another Instagram notification. Saige, posting a sunset over the Amalfi Coast. Blessed best parents, ever living my best life. Something inside me snapped. Clean and sharp, like a bone breaking. They wanted to play games? Fine. I opened my laptop and started taking screenshots. Every lie, every text, every transfer. My hands weren't shaking anymore. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. I spent the next 3 hours in a social media spiral, screenshots piling up like evidence at a crime scene. Every photo, every location, every timestamp. It was all there, documenting exactly how my parents had spent my house fund. My phone rang. Max. "You're scaring me," he said. "You've been liking posts from 2 years ago. What's going on?" They lied. My voice sounded strange, distant. The furnace wasn't broken. The roof wasn't leaking. They took my money and sent Saiji to Italy. Silence. Then, "I'm coming over." While waiting for Max, I dug deeper. The trip wasn't just Italy. There were posts from Greece, too. Shopping bags from designer stores. 5-star hotels. Each photo felt like a slap. A memory surfaced. Mom's voice from my childhood. "Saigi deserves more because she's sensitive and you're strong." I pulled out my old journals from the closet, flipping through pages of teenage angst until I found it. There it was, written in purple gel pen. "Mom says Saig needs more support because she's delicate. I guess being responsible means I don't need anything." Max arrived with coffee and a determined look. "We're calling them. Right now. Speakerphone." Mom answered on the 4th ring. "Harper, what a surprise. How was the contractor, Mom?" My voice was ice. "Oh, they did a wonderful job." "Really?" "Because Saija's Instagram shows her drinking Prosecco in Venice exactly 2 days after I transferred my money. The money you said was for emergency repairs." Silence. Then, "Sweetie, you don't understand. Try me. We had already planned the trip for Saige. She's been so stressed with work lately, and you know how sensitive she is. So you lied to me? Pretended you were about to lose the house? Harper, please." Her voice shifted, honeyed and manipulative. "We were going to pay you back. We just needed to make sure Saij got her dream trip first. You're so good with money. We knew you'd understand." I hung up. Max touched my shoulder. "Call your dad." Dad picked up immediately. "Princess." "Don't." My voice cracked. "Don't you dare call me that." "We just wanted to surprise Sage," he said, as if that explained everything. "You don't understand how much pressure she's been under." "And what about my pressure?" The words exploded out. "Working overtime, skipping vacations, eating ramen to save money. Did you think about that when you were booking 5-star hotels? That's different. You're stronger than—" "If you say I'm stronger than Saij, I swear to God." "We're going to pay you back," he interrupted. "Every penny. We had to prioritize her. Like always." I laughed, a harsh sound. "You know what's funny? I actually believed you were crying that night. Real tears, over a fake emergency." "They weren't fake," he protested. "We were worried about disappointing Sage." Click. I couldn't listen anymore. My phone started buzzing with texts. "Mom, please understand. We love you both equally." Dad, "Princess, call me back. We can explain everything." Sage, "OMG, why are you being so dramatic? Mom and Dad said they're paying you back." I blocked them all. Max watched me, concerned. "What are you going to do?" I opened my laptop again, pulling up the email thread with my parents from that night. Their desperate plea. My immediate response. The transfer confirmation. "First," I said, "I'm calling Christine." "Your lawyer friend?" "Yeah. Because this wasn't just lying. They committed fraud. They got money under false pretenses. Are you sure you want to go there? They're your family." "No." I turned to him. something cold and certain settling in my chest. Family doesn't do this. Family doesn't manipulate and steal and gaslight. This ends now. My phone buzzed again. A new Instagram post from Saj. Some people are just jealous of others' happiness. Blessed akust sak unbothered. I took a screenshot. More evidence. They thought I'd just accept this, I said, my voice steady now. They thought I'd be the good daughter and swallow it like every other time. But they forgot something. What's that? I opened my email and started composing a message to Christine. I work in finance. I document everything. And I'm done being the family ATM. Max squeezed my shoulder. What do you need? Witnesses, records, and a really good lawyer. I hit send on the email. They wanted to play favorites? Fine. Let's see how they like it when their strong daughter stops being so understanding. The reply from Christine came almost immediately. Come to my office first thing tomorrow. Bring everything. Game on. Christine's office smelled like leather and expensive coffee. She sat across from me, scanning through the screenshots I'd collected, her expression growing darker with each swipe. Let me get this straight, she said, setting down her tablet. They called you at 2 a.m. crying about imminent foreclosure and emergency repairs? Yes. But there were no repairs. None. She leaned back. And 2 days after you transferred the money, your sister was posting from Italy? Venice, specifically. I pulled up the timestamp. First-class tickets, according to her Instagram story. Christine started taking notes. Did they sign anything? Any acknowledgement of the loan? Dad texted me an IOU the next day. I showed her the message. We'll pay back every penny, princess. Promise. Good. That's something. She tapped her pen against the desk. But there's something else bothering me. Pull up your banking records from the past few years. I logged into my account while she called her assistant. Sarah, get me everything you can find on home equity lines for Parker and Desiree's address. 20 minutes later, Christine's face went rigid. Harper, look at this. She slid a document across the desk. A home equity line of credit application from 3 years ago. My signature was at the bottom. I never signed this, I said, staring at the familiar loops and curves. I would remember. Think carefully, Christine interrupted. Did they ever have you sign anything? Maybe a stack of papers? Insurance documents? The memory hit like a punch to the gut. Mom said, she said it was to add me to their life insurance. My hands started shaking. I was 26. They brought the papers to my apartment. Said it was just routine. Christine's jaw tightened. They forged your signature on some documents and had you unknowingly sign others. You're listed as a co-signer on a $150,000 home equity line. The room spun. What? They've been using it like a credit card. The balance is currently at $127,000. I barely made it to the trash can before throwing up. When I could breathe again, Christine handed me water. This changes everything, she said. This isn't just about the $27,000 anymore. This is fraud, identity theft, and financial abuse. I trusted them, I whispered. I know. Her voice softened. But now we fight back. First, we're filing a police report about the forged signatures. Then we're submitting a fraud claim to the bank. My phone buzzed. Mom again. Why aren't you answering? Family dinner on Sunday. We need to talk. Christine read the message over my shoulder. Perfect. Go to dinner. I stared at her. What? Go. Record everything. Get them talking about the money, the trip, the home equity line. Florida is a one-party consent state for recordings. You want me to spy on my family? I want you to gather evidence. She gripped my shoulders. Harper, listen to me. They've been playing you for years, using your love and guilt against you. It's time to stop being their victim and start being their worst nightmare. My phone buzzed again. Dad, Your mother's crying. Is this what you want? Something hardened in my chest. Okay. What's the plan? Christine spent the next hour outlining strategy. File the police report today. Submit the fraud claim tomorrow. Go to dinner Sunday and record everything. Then, once we had it all documented, we destroy them, she said simply. Legally, financially, and socially. Saige posted another photo, I said, checking my phone. Some boutique hotel in Positano. Caption says, making memories with mom and dad's blessing. Screenshot it. Every post is evidence of how they spent your money. I looked at the growing file of documents, texts, and photos. They really thought I wouldn't fight back. That's their mistake. Christine started typing an email. I'm requesting an emergency hearing about the home equity line. We need to get your name off that loan before they can do more damage. They'll lose the house, I realized. They should have thought of that before they committed fraud. She paused. Are you having second thoughts? I thought about my empty savings account, about years of being the strong one while Sage got everything, about my signature on a loan I never knew existed. No, I said. No more second thoughts. Good. Christine handed me a small recording device. Because Sunday dinner is going to be very interesting. I slipped the recorder into my purse, a strange calm settling over me. What do I say to them? Nothing about the legal proceedings. Just let them talk. People reveal a lot when they think they're in control. As I left her office, my phone lit up with a new Instagram notification. Sage, on a yacht. Last day in paradise. So blessed to have parents who make dreams come true. I saved the post, added it to the evidence file, and smiled. Let them think they've won. Sunday was coming, and with it, the beginning of their nightmare. Sunday arrived with the weight of a funeral. I parked outside my parents' house, the recorder already running in my purse. Through the window, I could see Saiji showing off photos on her phone. Mom and Dad crowded around her like proud peacocks. Max squeezed my hand. You don't have to do this. Yes, I do. I touched the recorder. For every Christmas, I got practical gifts while Saige got designer bags. For every school trip I couldn't afford while she went to cheer camp. The front door opened before we reached it. Harper! Mom rushed forward, arms wide. We've missed you. I let her hug me, feeling nothing. Behind her, Saiji barely looked up from her phone. Finally decided to stop being dramatic? She asked, scrolling through photos. Dad emerged from the kitchen. Princess, come see the new... Don't call me that, I said quietly. The room froze. Mom recovered first. Dinner's almost ready. I made your favorite lasagna. Saigi's favorite, I corrected. Mine is chicken parmesan. Another awkward pause. Dad cleared his throat. Well, sit down. Saiji was just showing us pictures from the Amalfi Coast. Perfect. I sat positioning my purse carefully. Tell me about the trip, Saij. It looked expensive. Oh my God, it was amazing. She launched into a detailed description of every hotel, every restaurant, every tourist trap. The gondola ride alone was like 300 euros. Wow. I kept my voice neutral. That's quite a budget. How did you afford it? Mom's fork clattered against her plate. Harper. No, I'm genuinely curious. I smiled. I mean, you told me you were facing foreclosure, that the furnace was dead. Remember, Mom? You were crying? Saige looked up. What? They didn't tell you? I turned to her. They called me at 2 a.m. begging for money to save the house. I gave them my entire house fund. $27,000. I checked my phone. 2 days before your first post from Venice. The color drained from Mom's face. We were going to explain. When? I cut in. Before or after Saij posted about her dream vacation? Before or after I saw the receipts from Gucci? Dad stood up. That's enough. No, it's not. I pulled out my phone. Remember when Saiji crashed her car last year? You said you needed help with the insurance. $3,000. But according to her Instagram, that same week, she got a Chanel bag for her birthday. Saji shifted uncomfortably. That's different. Or sophomore year of college, I continued, when I had to co-sign for your student loans because mom and dad said they couldn't afford tuition? Funny, because they paid yours in full. You're stronger than your sister, Mom interjected. You've always been able to handle what? My voice cracked. Being lied to? Being stolen from? Being treated like an ATM while you pamper her? We love you both equally, Dad insisted. Really? I pulled up another screenshot. Is that why you opened a Sage's wedding fund account last year? $20,000 set aside for her future wedding while you were forging my signature on loan documents? The room went silent. Mom's face turned gray. How did you know about that? She whispered. I know everything. I stood up, hands steady. The home equity line you tricked me into co-signing. The credit cards you opened in my name when I was in college. Every lie, every manipulation, every time you chose her over me. Saig started crying. Right on cue. Mom rushed to comfort her. See what you've done? Dad growled. You're upsetting your sister. I laughed. A hollow sound. Of course. Protect precious Saig. Heaven forbid she face consequences. We were going to pay you back, Mom pleaded, still holding Saig. When? After the next vacation? The next shopping spree? I grabbed my purse. You know what the worst part is? I would have helped if you'd just been honest. I would have given Sage money for her trip if she'd asked. But you chose to lie, to manipulate, to steal. We didn't steal, Dad started. Save it for the judge. Mom's head snapped up. What? You heard me. I headed for the door, Max right behind me. Check your mail tomorrow. And Sage? I'd delete those Instagram posts if I were you. They're great evidence of fraud. You wouldn't, Mom gasped. We're family. I turned back one last time. Family doesn't steal from family. Family doesn't lie and manipulate and gaslight. You're not my family. You're just people who raised one daughter and used the other as a bank. As we drove away, my phone exploded with notifications. Mom begging me to come back. Dad threatening to disown me. Saga calling me jealous and cruel. I turned off my phone and touched the recorder in my purse. Did we get enough? Max nodded grimly. More than enough. Good. I watched my childhood home disappear in the rearview mirror. Because tomorrow, the real fun begins. Christine's office was buzzing with activity when I arrived Monday morning. 3 paralegals huddled around a computer, transcribing my dinner recording. Christine sat at her desk, phone pressed to her ear, nodding grimly. Yes, Your Honor, the evidence of fraud is substantial. She gestured for me to sit. We're requesting an emergency hearing. Yes, I understand. Thank you. She hung up and turned to me. The judge is seeing us tomorrow morning, but that's not why I called you in. She slid a folder across her desk. Look what we found. Inside were bank statements, loan applications, and property records going back 15 years. My hands started shaking as I read. They've been doing this for years, Christine said quietly. That college fund your grandmother left you? They drained it when you were 17. The money was transferred directly to Saiga's car dealership. The room tilted. What? There's more. Remember that summer job you had at 16? The checks were deposited into an account with your name on it. But look at the withdrawal patterns. I stared at the statements. Weekly withdrawals. Always the same amount. Always transferred to Saiga's dance studio. They used my paychecks to pay for her ballet lessons? Christine nodded. And that's just what we've found so far. We're still digging. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. Harper, it's Spencer, your cousin. We need to talk. I know things about your parents. I showed Christine the message. Call him, she said immediately. On speaker. Spencer answered on the first ring. Thank God you called. I've been carrying this guilt for years. What guilt? About your college fund. The real one. Not the fake story they told you. My heart stopped. What do you mean? Your dad's brother, my father, was the executor of your grandmother's estate. There was a significant college fund set up for you, over $100,000. The room started spinning again. Christine grabbed my arm to steady me. What happened to it? I whispered. Your parents convinced my dad to release it to them early. Said they were investing it for your future. I found the paperwork in his office after he died. They used it for Saj's private school, her car, her spring break trips. Christine was already typing. We need those documents. I have them, Spencer said. All of them. Including the letters where your parents specifically instructed the money be kept secret from you. They said you'd make your own way because you were the responsible one. A laugh bubbled up, bitter and harsh. The responsible one. Their code for the one we can steal from. I'm so sorry, Harper. I should have told you years ago. Can you come to my office? Christine cut in. Today? I'm already in my car. After he hung up, I sat in silence, processing. $100,000. My grandmother's gift, stolen before I even knew it existed. My phone lit up with notifications. Saj had posted a new Instagram story. A tearful video about toxic family members and jealous siblings. The comments were flooding in, her followers attacking me without knowing the truth. Look at this, Christine said suddenly. She'd been digging through property records. Your parents took out a second mortgage last year. Guess what the money was labeled for? Let me guess. Sage's wedding? Close. Sage's future family fund. She looked up. They're underwater on both mortgages. The home equity line is maxed out, and they've been using your identity to open credit cards for years. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. The account that once held my house fund now showed a balance of $182.47. What happens now? Now? Christine smiled grimly. Now we go nuclear. The judge tomorrow will see evidence of long-term financial abuse. Spencer's documents prove premeditated fraud. The Instagram posts show exactly where your money went. They'll lose everything. They already lost everything that mattered. She touched my hand. They lost you. My phone buzzed again. Mom, please don't do this to us. We're your parents. Dad, you're making a huge mistake, Princess. Saj, thanks for ruining my life. Hope you're happy. I blocked them all, then looked at Christine. Do it. All of it. She nodded and pressed her intercom. Sarah, send in the paralegals. We're filing everything. As the team assembled, my phone lit up one last time. A text from Spencer. Almost there. Found more documents. They never planned to pay you back. Any of it. I took a deep breath and straightened my spine. Christine? Yes? Make it hurt. She smiled, sharp and determined. Oh, it will. Trust me, it will. Spencer arrived with a weathered cardboard box that smelled like old paper and betrayal. I found these in my dad's storage unit, he said, spreading documents across Christine's conference table, including this. He pulled out a small cassette tape. Dad recorded all his important conversations, including the one where your parents convinced him to release your college fund. Christine's eyes lit up. Is it dated? December 12th, 15 years ago. Spencer pressed play on an ancient recorder he'd brought. My father's voice filled the room. Look, Frank, we need access to Harper's fund now. Sage got into Brighton Prep, and the deposit is due next week. My uncle. That money is for Harper's college. Margaret's specifically. Harper will be fine, Mom's voice cut in. She's already talking about community college, working her way through school. She's not like Sage. She doesn't need the advantages. She doesn't need her own grandmother's money? Uncle Frank sounded skeptical. She'll make her own way, Dad insisted. She's always been independent. But Sage, she's different. Sensitive. Special. I gripped the table so hard my knuckles went white. Max? who'd been silent until now, wrapped an arm around my shoulders. "There's more," Spencer said quietly. He fast-forwarded through several conversations, each one more damning than the last. My parents planning to use my summer job money for Saj's dance lessons. Discussing how to hide their financial manipulations from me. Laughing about how I'd never know about the grandmother's fund. Christine's team was taking notes furiously. "This is better than we hoped," she said. "Clear evidence of premeditated fraud spanning years." "Wait." Spencer pulled out one last envelope. "This is the worst part." Inside was a letter, dated just 3 months ago. My mother's handwriting. "Dear Sage, the house will be yours when the time comes. We've arranged everything so Harper can't contest it. She doesn't deserve it anyway. She's never appreciated family the way you do. Besides, she'll be fine on her own. She always is. Love, Mom." The room went silent. Even Christine looked shocked. "They were planning to write me out completely," I whispered, "after everything they took from me." "There's something else you should know," Spencer said. "Last Thanksgiving, I overheard them talking about your house fund. They never intended to pay you back. They were counting on you feeling too guilty to demand it." My phone buzzed. A group text from Mom to the extended family. "Our dear Harper has turned against us. She's trying to destroy our family with false accusations. Please pray for her troubled soul." The responses poured in. Aunts and uncles taking sides. Cousins choosing teams. My parents' carefully crafted narrative spreading like poison. That's it. I stood up, something cold and certain settling in my chest. I'm done being quiet. I opened my laptop and started typing. "Dear Reddit, I need to tell you how my parents stole my future to fund my sister's dreams." Max read over my shoulder. "Are you sure about this?" "They want to control the narrative," I kept typing. "Let's see how their story holds up against bank statements and recorded confessions." Christine nodded approvingly. "The truth is your best weapon now." I wrote everything. The midnight call, the fake emergency, the Italian vacation, the stolen college fund, the forged documents, the years of manipulation, the recorded proof. "Add the screenshots," Spencer suggested. "Show them Saiga's Instagram post next to your bank transfers." I did. Then I added the final blow. A photo of my mother's letter about the house inheritance. Should I post it? My cursor hovered over the submit button. "Do it," Christine said. "Let the court of public opinion see exactly who they are." I clicked submit. Within hours, the post exploded. Thousands of comments. Shares across multiple platforms. People tagging Sage's Instagram business account. Local news starting to sniff around. My phone erupted with notifications. Family members who'd sided with my parents suddenly changing their tune. Distant relatives sharing their own stories of my parents' manipulation. Sagie's followers turning against her. Mom's text came through. "What have you done? Take it down immediately." Dad, "You've destroyed our reputation." Sage, "My sponsorships are canceling. I hate you." I blocked them all again, then turned to Christine. "What's next?" She smiled, sharp and satisfied. "Tomorrow we go to court." "Tonight?" She gestured at my viral Reddit post, now being shared by major news outlets. "Tonight, we let them sweat." Spencer touched my shoulder. "I should have spoken up years ago. I'm sorry. Don't be." I watched the view count climb on my post. "You helped me deliver the final blow." My phone buzzed one last time. A message from an investigative reporter. "Would you be willing to tell your story on camera?" I looked at Christine. She nodded. "Yes," I typed back. "I have proof of everything." The truth was finally coming out, and it was going to burn their world to the ground. The courthouse steps were crowded with reporters. My Reddit post had gone viral overnight, spawning hashtags and TikTok reactions. Shiny family fraud and golden child scam were trending. "Ms. Harper, A reporter thrust a microphone toward me. Is it true your parents stole your inheritance? Christine stepped in front of me. My client will make a statement after the hearing. Inside, my parents and Sage huddled with their lawyer. Mom's carefully styled hair couldn't hide her pale, drawn face. Dad wouldn't meet my eyes. Sage was frantically scrolling through her phone, probably watching her follower count plummet. All rise, the bailiff called. Judge Martinez studied the documents before her, her expression growing darker with each page. Let me be clear, she said finally. You took out loans in your daughter's name without her knowledge, drained her inheritance, and used her savings for a luxury vacation for your other daughter? My parents' lawyer stood. Your Honor, this is a family matter that's been blown out of proportion. I'm looking at bank records spanning 15 years, the judge cut in. This isn't a family squabble. This is systematic financial abuse. Mom burst into tears. Right on cue. Your Honor, she sobbed, we only wanted to give our daughters the best. One daughter, the judge corrected. You stole from one to spoil the other. The documentation is quite clear. Christine stood. We have audio evidence, Your Honor. She played the tapes. My parents' voices filled the courtroom, plotting to steal my college fund, laughing about how I'd never know. Mom's sobs got louder with each damning recording. Turn it off, Dad suddenly shouted. Fine, we did it. Is that what you want to hear? The courtroom went silent. We took her money, he continued, his voice breaking. We used her inheritance for Sage's school. We forged her signature. We lied about the house repairs. We did it all. Why? The judge's voice was ice. Because we could. He was shouting now. Because she never complained. Because she always figured things out on her own. Because Sage needed... Enough. Judge Martinez's gavel cracked like thunder. I've heard enough. She shuffled her papers, then looked directly at my parents. The court finds clear and convincing evidence of fraud, identity theft, and financial abuse. The defendant, Harper, is to be removed from all fraudulent accounts. The home equity line of credit will be investigated for criminal charges. She paused. Furthermore, I'm issuing an emergency injunction freezing all your assets pending a criminal investigation. Mom collapsed against Dad. Sage started crying. But where will we live? She wailed. Perhaps, the judge said coldly. You should have thought of that before participating in your parents' fraud. Your Instagram posts will make excellent evidence for the prosecution. Christine stood. Your Honor, we also request full restitution. Granted. The defendants will repay all stolen funds, including the inheritance, with interest. She looked at my parents. I'm also referring this case to the district attorney. Financial abuse is still abuse. Outside, the reporters were waiting. This time, I stepped forward. My parents stole my inheritance, my savings, and my trust, I said clearly into the microphones. They did it to fund my sister's luxurious lifestyle. Today, justice was served. Harper, please, Mom pushed through the crowd. We're still your parents. I turned to face her, cameras rolling. No. Parents protect their children. They don't steal from them. They don't forge their signatures. They don't laugh about betraying them. But we love you. She reached for me. I stepped back. You love what you could take from me. That's not the same thing. Sage shoved forward. You've ruined everything. My followers, my sponsorships. Your free ride is over, I cut in. Welcome to the real world, sis. Better start saving. Christine guided me through the media frenzy to her car. My phone was exploding with messages. Support from strangers, apologies from family members who'd ignored the signs for years. A new notification popped up. Saiji's Luxury Life Instagram account has been deactivated. They'll probably lose the house, Christine said as we drove away. The criminal charges alone. Good. I watched the courthouse disappear in the rearview mirror. They chose this. What will you do now? I thought about the judge's restitution order, about the inheritance that would finally be mine, about the house fund I could rebuild. I'm going to live my life, I said, without their lies, without their manipulation, without their guilt. My phone buzzed one last time. A text from Dad. You've destroyed this family. I typed back 3 words. No, you did. Then I blocked his number, turned off my phone, and watched the sun set on the day justice finally won. The golden child's reign was over. And my life? It was just beginning. The keys to my new condo felt heavy in my hand. Not a mansion, not even a house, just a modest 2-bedroom with good bones and potential. But it was mine, bought with the restitution money and free from any family strings. Last box, Max said, setting it down in the kitchen. Ready to celebrate? Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Christine. Turn on Channel 7, she said without preamble. They're covering the sentencing. I flipped on the TV. There were my parents leaving the courthouse. The headline scrolled, Local couple sentenced in family fraud case, 6 months house arrest, 5 years probation, full restitution required. They're selling the house, Christine continued. It goes on the market tomorrow. Where will they live? A rental, 1-bedroom apartment. She paused. Seiji moved to Arizona. Apparently, she's trying to rebuild her influencer career under a new name. I switched off the TV. Good luck with that. The internet never forgets. Speaking of which, your Reddit post hit 1 million views. People are calling it the family fraud saga that changed how we talk about financial abuse. Max opened a bottle of champagne, the pop echoing through my empty new living room. To justice, he said, handing me a glass. And boundaries, I added. My phone lit up again. A message from Spencer. Found more tapes. Want them? No, I typed back. I have everything I need. Christine was still talking. The DA wants to use your case as a precedent for other financial abuse cases. Would you be willing to... A knock at the door cut her off. Through the peephole, I saw Mom. I have to go, I told Christine, then turned to Max. I need to do this alone. He squeezed my hand and disappeared into the bedroom. I opened the door. Mom looked smaller somehow, her designer clothes replaced with department store basics. Harper, she whispered, please. Why are you here? We're selling the house. I thought, maybe you'd want some of your old things? I don't want anything from that house. She pulled out a small box. Not even this? Inside was my childhood journal. The one with the entry about being strong, while Saiji was sensitive. I read it, she said. All of it. Every entry where you wrote about feeling less loved, less valued. Her voice cracked. We did that to you. We made our daughter feel worthless. Save the tears, Mom. The cameras aren't here. I deserve that. She set the box down. I deserve all of it. The shame, the bankruptcy, losing our home. She met my eyes. Losing you. You didn't lose me, I said quietly. You sold me. Piece by piece, dollar by dollar. Can we ever fix this? I thought about the tapes, the stolen inheritance, the forged documents, the years of lies. No, I said finally. Some things can't be fixed. They can only be finished. She nodded slowly. Your father wanted to come, but he's under house arrest. Yes. She turned to leave, then stopped. Saiga asked about you. Let me guess. She needs money? Mom flinched. She's struggling. Her sponsors all dropped her. Her followers? Welcome to consequences. I started closing the door. Goodbye, Mom. Harper, wait. She pulled out an envelope. Your grandmother, she left you a letter with the college fund. We hid this too. I'm sorry. I took the envelope, unopened after all these years. I hope someday, she started. Don't. I met her eyes one last time. Just don't. After she left, I opened my laptop and started typing. Dear Reddit, you followed my story of family fraud and favoritism. Here's the final chapter. Justice doesn't always mean reconciliation. Sometimes it means learning to live without the people who hurt you. Max emerged from the bedroom. You okay? Better than okay. I showed him my grandmother's letter. Inside was a simple message. Dear Harper, remember, your strength is not an excuse for their weakness. Love, Grandma Margaret. I pinned the letter to my new condo's wall. My first decoration, my phone buzzed. A text from Christine. DA's office called. They're opening 3 similar cases thanks to your story. You started something important. I looked around my new home. Empty, but full of possibility. No guilt, no manipulation, no golden child casting shadows. Just me, my truth, and a future I could finally call my own. I added one last line to my Reddit post. P.S. To anyone being financially abused by family, your strength isn't their ATM. Your independence isn't their excuse. Your story matters. Tell it. Then I closed my laptop, picked up my champagne, and toasted to new beginnings. Some family trees need pruning to grow stronger. I'd cut away the rot, and now I could finally bloom.
Growing up, I always thought protecting my little brother was my purpose in life. Today, I realized it might have been my biggest mistake. My name is Madison, and I just got played for 10 grand by my own flesh and blood. The worst part? I should have seen it coming. Everyone else did. You're too soft on him, my best friend Reed told me last month when I mentioned lending Khalil the money. He's 27, not 17. Let him figure it out himself. But how could I say no? Khalil had called me crying about medical bills, claiming his insurance wouldn't cover some urgent procedure. He sounded desperate, vulnerable, just like when we were kids and he'd crawl into my bed during thunderstorms. I promise I'll pay you back, Maddie, he'd said, using my childhood nickname. You know I'm good for it. Please, I don't know who else to ask. I transferred the money that same night, $10,000, nearly all my savings. Mum always said family comes first, right? This morning, while sipping my coffee and mindlessly scrolling through Instagram, I nearly choked. There was Khalil posted up in Miami Beach, champagne in hand, designer clothes head to toe. The caption read, "Living my best life. Sha blessed Tasha luxury lifestyle." The timestamp, 2 days after I sent him the money. My hands shook as I scrolled through his feed. Posts from high-end restaurants, nightclubs, shopping sprees. Each image felt like a slap in the face. "You've reached Khalil. Leave a message." I tried calling 6 times, straight to voicemail. Finally, around noon, my phone buzzed. A text from him. "Chill sis, what's with all the calls?" I called again immediately. This time he picked up. "What's going on with you?" I demanded, trying to keep my voice steady. "I thought you needed that money for medical bills." He laughed, actually laughed. "Oh, come on, Maddie. You really believe that. I needed a vacation, and you're always so generous. It's not like you can't afford it." "Are you kidding me? That was my savings, Khalil. Look, I'll pay you back, eventually. Stop being so dramatic." "Dramatic? You lied to me. You manipulated me." "Whatever. You're just mad because you fell for it. Maybe next time don't be so naive." The call ended. I sat there staring at my phone, feeling like an absolute fool. Reed stopped by my office later that afternoon, probably sensing something was wrong from my 3-word responses to his texts. "Spill it," he said, perching on the edge of my desk. What did he do this time? I showed him Khalil's Instagram feed. His jaw tightened as he scrolled. "That little shit," he muttered. "Want me to talk to him?" I shook my head. "No, this time it's different. He needs to learn there are consequences." "What are you thinking?" Before I could answer, my phone buzzed. Mom. "Madison, honey, Are you coming to the charity gala next month? Khalil's being honoured for his charitable work. Can you believe it? My baby boy finally growing up. I felt sick. Charitable work? The only charity Khalil knew was taking advantage of other people's kindness. Of course, Mum, wouldn't miss it. After hanging up, I turned to Reed. You know Jennifer Garcia, right? The one organising the gala? He nodded slowly, a smile spreading across his face. I see where this is going. Khalil wants to play games? Fine, let's play. But this time I'm making the rules. Reed leaned forward, eyes sparkling with interest. What did you have in mind? Something public, something he can't laugh off or charm his way out of. I pulled up Khalil's Instagram again, looking at his smug smile in the Miami photos. He's built this whole fake image of himself as some kind of philanthropist. Time to show everyone who he really is. You sure about this? It's going to get messy. I thought about all the times I'd covered for Khalil, made excuses for him, cleaned up his messes. The way he'd laughed at me on the phone, mocked my trust in him. You know what's messy, Reed? Watching someone you love become someone you don't even recognise anymore. Sometimes the only way to help someone is to stop helping them at all. Reed nodded, pulling out his phone. I'll text Jennifer, get the ball rolling. As he typed, I stared out my office window at the city below. For the first time in my life, I wasn't thinking about protecting my little brother. I was thinking about destroying him. And God help me, it felt good. The next morning, I decided to give Khalil one last chance to come clean. I drove to his apartment building, the same luxury complex he'd complained he could barely afford when begging for the loan. Well, this is a surprise, he said, opening the door in designer loungewear. Come to apologise for yesterday's drama? I pushed past him into the apartment. New furniture everywhere. A massive TV I'd never seen before. Shopping bags from high-end stores scattered across the floor. Medical bills, huh? I picked up a receipt from his coffee table. Unless Gucci started making hospital gowns, I think we need to talk. He flopped onto his leather couch, rolling his eyes. Look, I needed a break, okay? You don't understand the pressure I'm under. Pressure? What pressure? You don't even have a job. I'm networking, building connections. That takes money, Madison. Image is everything in this city. And what about the charity gala? Mum says you're being honoured. His face lit up. Oh yeah, Clifford Myers introducing me, says I'm an inspiring young philanthropist. Pretty cool, right? I felt my blood pressure rising. What charitable work have you actually done, Khalil? It's all about presentation, sis. I made some donations. With whose money? He shrugged. Details. The point is, people believe in me. Maybe you should try it sometime. My phone buzzed. Reed, Jennifer's in. Meeting at 2 p.m. You coming? You know what? I said to Khalil, grabbing my purse. You're right. Maybe I should start believing in you. See you at the gala. He didn't even look up from his phone as I left. Jennifer's office was exactly what you'd expect from someone who organised high society events. All clean lines and modern art. She greeted me with a warm hug. Reed filled me in, she said, gesturing for us to sit. I have to say I'm relieved. Something felt off about your brother's sudden philanthropy. How did he even get involved with the gala? I asked. Jennifer sighed. Clifford Meyer. They met at some networking event. Clifford's been singing his praises, saying Khalil's the future of charitable giving in our city. Even sponsored his membership at the country club. Reed whistled. Clifford Meyer, the real estate developer? That's a powerful friend to con. Exactly why this needs to be handled carefully, Jennifer said. We can't just accuse him without proof. Clifford's reputation is at stake too. I have proof, I said, pulling out my phone. Bank transfers, text messages, social media posts, everything showing where that charitable donation really went. Jennifer reviewed the evidence, her expression darkening. This is substantial, but are you sure you want to do this publicly? It could destroy his reputation. What reputation? I snapped. He's built everything on lies. He's using people's goodwill to fund his lifestyle. Someone has to stop him. Reed touched my arm. Maddie, take a breath. We're with you, but Jennifer's right. This will have consequences. I know, but so does letting him continue. Jennifer nodded slowly. Okay, the gala's in 3 weeks. During the ceremony, we'll have a video presentation introducing each honoree. We can modify Khalil's. How exactly? Reed asked. We'll start with the image he's created, then show the reality. Bank statements, social media posts, everything. It'll be impossible to deny. My stomach churned. Mum will be there. She should be, Reed said gently. Better she learns the truth now than later. Jennifer pulled out her calendar. I'll need time to put the presentation together, and we'll have to be discreet. If Khalil suspects anything. He won't, I assured her. He's too busy enjoying his best life to notice anything else. As we left Jennifer's office, Reed grabbed my hand. You okay? No, but I will be. I showed him my phone, another Instagram post from Khalil, this time at the country club with Clifford. The caption read, "Mentorship is priceless. Grateful for those who believe in my vision. Blessed Tsar's giving back." The thing is, I said, part of me still loves him. He's my little brother. But sometimes loving someone means making them face consequences. Reed squeezed my hand. You're doing the right thing. Am I? Because it feels like I'm about to nuke my entire family. Sometimes things need to break before they can heal properly. As we walked to our cars, my phone buzzed again. Mum, just had lunch with Khalil. He's so excited about you coming to the gala. Says he has a surprise planned. My 2 babies, together again. I showed Reed the message. Well, he said, she's right about one thing. There's definitely going to be a surprise. I stared at my mother's text, her happiness practically radiating through the screen. 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, I'd either be the hero who exposed a fraud or the villain who destroyed her family. Maybe I'd be both. Are you absolutely sure about the timing? I asked Jennifer, watching her work on the presentation in her office. 2 weeks had passed, and my stomach turned every time I thought about the gala. Trust me, she said, clicking through slides, right after Clifford's introduction, before Khalil's acceptance speech, maximum impact. Reed lounged on the office couch, frowning at his phone. Your brother's really milking this, Maddie. Look at his latest post. I glanced over. Khalil stood beside a children's hospital sign, wearing a perfectly tailored suit. The caption, "Meeting with amazing healthcare heroes. Every child deserves a chance. Yeah, blessed charm giving back." He's actually using sick kids now, Jennifer muttered. That's low even for him. My phone rang. Mum. I stepped into the hallway to answer. Honey, are you free for dinner tonight? Khalil's cooking. I closed my eyes. Mum, I'm pretty busy with work. Please? He specifically asked for you to come. Says he misses his big sister. Of course he did. Khalil always knew exactly which strings to pull. Fine. What time? Walking into Mum's house that evening felt like stepping into a trap. The smell of garlic and herbs filled the air. Khalil's signature pasta, my favourite. There's my favourite sister. He wrapped me in a hug, all charm and warmth, like the phone call never happened, like he hadn't stolen my savings. Mum beamed at us. Just like old times. During dinner, Khalil dominated the conversation, talking about his charitable initiatives and future plans. Mum hung on every word. And Madison, he said, reaching for my hand across the table, I want you to know I haven't forgotten about the loan. In fact, I have something special planned at the gala. I nearly choked on my wine. What do you mean? You'll see. It's going to be amazing. Trust me. Mum clapped her hands. Oh, I'm so proud of you both. Khalil helping the community, Madison always supporting him. This is all I've ever wanted for my children. I excused myself to the bathroom, hands shaking as I texted Reed. He's planning something for the gala, about the money. Reed replied instantly. Damage control, or another con. Don't know, but we need to be ready. Back at the table, Khalil was showing Mom photos on his phone. And here's me with the hospital board. They're naming a wing after me. They're what? I couldn't help myself. Well, not officially yet, but Clifford's working on it. Says my dedication to children's healthcare is inspiring. I gripped my fork so hard my knuckles turned white. Really? And how much have you actually donated to the hospital, Khalil? Mum shot me a warning look. Madison. It's not about the money, sis, Khalil said smoothly. It's about raising awareness, building connections. The real work happens behind the scenes. After dinner, Mom insisted on showing me old photo albums. Pictures of Khalil and me as kids, building sandcastles, opening Christmas presents, me always watching over him. Remember this? Mum pointed to a photo of teenage me bandaging Khalil's scraped knee. You were always protecting him. Yeah, I said quietly. Maybe too much. Later, walking to my car, Khalil caught up with me. Hey, about the gala, he said, suddenly serious. I know things have been weird between us, but I promise after my speech everything will make sense. What are you planning, Khalil? He grinned. Can't spoil the surprise, but trust me, you'll want to be there. I drove straight to Reed's apartment, finding him and Jennifer still working on the presentation. We have a problem, I announced. Khalil's planning something for the gala, something about the money he owes me. Jennifer looked up from her laptop. Could he actually be planning to pay you back? With what money? He's spending everything he gets. Reed paced the room. Maybe he's found another mark, someone else to con for cash. Or maybe, Jennifer said slowly, he's going to use you. Turn this around somehow, make himself look even more generous. The realization hit me. He's going to make a show of paying me back, probably with Clifford's money, paint himself as this amazing brother who was just waiting for the right moment. That's actually brilliant, Reed admitted. If he does it publicly, no one would believe he stole from you in the first place. I sank onto the couch. So what do we do? Jennifer turned her laptop around. On the screen was our presentation, now ending with Khalil's Miami Beach photos. We stick to the plan, but now we add one more thing. What? Your mother's photos, the ones from tonight. Show everyone how he's been manipulating family love his whole life. I thought about Mum's proud face at dinner, about all the years I spent protecting Khalil. Do it, I said. Add everything. As Jennifer worked, I stared at my phone. A new text from Khalil. Thanks for coming tonight, sis. Can't wait to make you proud at the gala. Love you. 1 week left. Either way, this would be the last time Khalil played anyone for a fool. The week before the gala, I ran into Clifford at my local coffee shop. My heart nearly stopped when he called out my name. Madison, just the person I wanted to see. He gestured to the empty chair at his table. Join me? I sat, clutching my latte like a shield. Clifford Meyer wasn't just wealthy, he was influential. If he caught wind of our plan... Your brother is quite remarkable, he said, beaming like a proud father. Did he tell you about the Children's Hospital Initiative? He mentioned something about a wing being named after him. Yes, we're announcing it at the gala. I'm matching his contribution, of course, $10,000 each. I nearly spat out my coffee. 10,000? He insisted on matching my donation, said it was important to have skin in the game. Clifford leaned forward. You must be so proud. My phone buzzed. Reed, where are you? Jennifer needs to show us something urgent. I have to go, I told Clifford. Work emergency. He caught my arm as I stood. Oh, one more thing. Khalil mentioned you helped him get started in philanthropy. That's wonderful. I forced a smile and practically ran out of the coffee shop. 20 minutes later, I burst into Jennifer's office. Reed was already there, looking pale. What's wrong? Jennifer turned her computer screen toward me. Khalil's been busy. Look at this. It was a draft press release for the gala. My stomach dropped as I read, Local philanthropist Khalil to announce major hospital donation, honouring sisters' inspiring generosity. He's using me as his origin story, I whispered, making it look like I loaned him the money to start his charitable work. It gets worse, Reed said. Show her the email. Jennifer pulled up another screen. An email from Khalil to the hospital board, dated right after our family dinner. My sister's selfless loan showed me the power of giving. I'm excited to announce my matching donation at the gala, dedicating it to her. That manipulative little... I couldn't even finish the sentence. He's covering all his bases, Reed said. If we expose him now, I'll look like I'm trying to take credit for his charitable work, I finished, or worse, like I'm jealous of his success. Jennifer started typing furiously. We need to adjust our strategy. The presentation needs to be airtight. My phone rang. Khalil. Hey sis, quick question. What are you wearing to the gala? I want us to coordinate for the photos. Photos? Yeah, for the press. After my speech, you know. It's going to be a big moment for both of us. I looked at Reed and Jennifer, who were listening intently. Khalil, what exactly are you planning? Can't tell you everything, but let's just say, remember how you always wanted me to do something meaningful with my life? Well, you inspired me, and now everyone's going to know it. After hanging up, I slumped in my chair. He's going to use my own words against me, all those times I encouraged him, tried to help him. We need more evidence, Jennifer said, something he can't spin. Reed snapped his fingers. The hospital board! They must have records of his supposed contributions. Already on it, Jennifer replied. My cousin works in their development office. She's sending me their donor records tonight. I pulled out my phone, scrolling through old texts from Khalil. The desperate messages begging for money, the promises to pay it back, screenshots of his Miami posts. Add these, I said, sending them to Jennifer. Show the timeline, how he asked for help with medical bills and then immediately went on vacation. Good, she nodded, but we need something more recent, something that proves he's still lying. My coffee meeting with Clifford flashed through my mind. He told Clifford he's matching his $10,000 donation, but he hasn't paid me back a cent. He doesn't have the money. Reed grinned. That's it. If we can prove he can't possibly make that donation. We show he's not just lying about the past, Jennifer finished. He's actively deceiving people right now. My phone buzzed again. Mum had sent a photo, her and Khalil at the hospital, both smiling widely. Look who's practicing his speech in the new children's wing. So proud, I showed Reed and Jennifer. He's really going all in on this. Good, Jennifer said, adding the photo to our presentation. The bigger he builds it, the harder he falls, Reed finished. I stared at the photo of my brother, his arm around our mother, standing in front of sick children's artwork. In 4 days, I'd either be exposing a fraud or destroying my family's trust forever. Make it bulletproof, I told Jennifer. He can't have any way to spin this. She nodded, determination in her eyes. By the time we're done, the only story he'll be telling is the truth. The night before the gala, I couldn't sleep. My phone kept lighting up with texts from Khalil. Can't wait for tomorrow, sis. You're going to be so proud of me. Wear something blue. It'll look great in photos. Around midnight, Mum called. Everything okay? I answered, trying to sound sleepy rather than anxious. Just excited. Khalil showed me part of his speech. He talks about you so beautifully, honey, about how you've always believed in him. I gripped my phone tighter. Mum, what if Khalil isn't who you think he is? What do you mean? What if... I swallowed hard. What if he's been lying to everyone? Silence. Then, Madison, I know you two have had your differences, but he's changed. You'll see tomorrow. He's finally becoming the man we always knew he could be. After hanging up, I texted Reed. I can't do this. He called immediately. Yes, you can. Want me to come over? 20 minutes later, Reed and Jennifer were at my door with wine and the final version of the presentation. One last review, Jennifer said, opening her laptop. We need to be certain about every detail. The presentation started with Khalil's social media posts about his charitable work, then showed the truth. Bank statements, timestamps of his Miami photos, screenshots of texts begging for medical bill. Money. Look at this. Reed pointed to the screen. Jennifer's cousin came through with the hospital records. Guess how much Khalil has actually donated to them? 0. Negative. He's been expensing meals at their cafe to Clifford's account. Jennifer clicked to the next slide. And here's the proof he can't make tomorrow's matching donation, his bank balance as of this morning. I leaned forward. The account showed less than $500. How did you get this? He still uses the family accountant, Jennifer smirked, the one who's been my best friend since college. My phone buzzed again. Khalil had posted a new Instagram story. A boomerang of him practicing at a podium, caption reading, "Big things coming tomorrow, tra blessed taunt family first." He really has no idea, I whispered. That's what makes it perfect, Reed said. He's so convinced of his own lie that he won't see it coming. Jennifer closed her laptop. Everything's ready. The presentation is loaded into the gala's system. As soon as Clifford finishes his introduction, it all comes crashing down, I finished. You can still back out, Reed said gently. We can delete it all right now. I thought about Mum's voice on the phone, about Khalil using sick children as props, about all the people he'd manipulated and would continue to manipulate if someone didn't stop him. No, we're doing this. The next morning, my phone exploded with messages. Khalil had sent a car to pick me up for pre-gala preparations. The honorees are having brunch at the venue, he texted. Come early. Clifford wants photos. The hotel ballroom was already bustling with activity. Khalil stood in the centre, holding court with several board members. There she is, he called out, rushing over to hug me. My inspiration, Clifford appeared with a photographer. Let's get some shots of the siblings together. This is a beautiful story. As camera flashes popped, Khalil whispered in my ear, Wait till you hear my speech. I'm going to make everything right. Really? I whispered back. Everything? Trust me. By tonight, everyone will know exactly what you mean to me. Jennifer caught my eye from across the room, giving a subtle nod. The presentation was ready. During brunch, Khalil clinked his glass. I'd like to propose a toast to my sister Madison, who taught me the true meaning of generosity. Everyone awed. Mum wiped away tears. If only they knew, Reed muttered beside me. Khalil continued. Tonight I'm going to share how one act of kindness changed my life, how my sister's faith in me led to something bigger than ourselves. My phone buzzed. Jennifer. Final chance to back out. Say the word. I watched Khalil work the room, charming everyone with practiced ease, watched Mom beam with pride, watched Clifford introduce him to more influential people who could become future marks. No, I texted back, it ends tonight. As the brunch wound down, Khalil pulled me aside. Wear that blue dress you wore to Cousin Sarah's wedding. It'll be perfect for the photos after my big announcement. What announcement, Khalil? He grinned. Let's just say, that loan you gave me, best investment you ever made. Trust me, after tonight everyone will know exactly what kind of person you are. I met his eyes. Yes, they will. 8 hours until the gala. 8 hours until everyone would indeed know exactly what kind of people we both were. The countdown had begun. The gala ballroom sparkled with crystal chandeliers and elegant table settings. I adjusted my blue dress, the one Khalil had requested, and watched the crowd file in. Everything's set, Jennifer whispered, appearing beside me. The presentation is queued up. As soon as Clifford finishes his introduction. There's my girl! Mum's voice cut through the tension. She hurried over, radiant in a silver gown. Don't you look beautiful? Have you seen your brother? He's being photographed with the hospital board. Reed appeared with champagne. Here, you look like you need this. I downed it in one gulp. Ladies and gentlemen, the MC announced, please take your seats. The ceremony will begin shortly. Mom pulled me toward the family table near the stage. Khalil was already there, practically glowing in an expensive suit. Ready for the big moment, sis? He squeezed my shoulder. I meant what I said earlier. After tonight, everyone will know exactly what you did for me. Can't wait, I managed through gritted teeth. The lights dimmed. Jennifer gave me a subtle thumbs up from the tech booth. The MC introduced various honorees, local business leaders, long-time donors, community activists. Then, and now, to introduce our final honoree of the evening, please welcome Mr. Clifford Meyer. Clifford took the stage, beaming. When I first met Khalil, I knew I'd encountered something special, a young man dedicated to making a difference. I glanced at Mom, who was already wiping away tears. What many don't know, Clifford continued, is that Khalil's journey into philanthropy began with a simple act of family love. His sister, Madison. My heart stopped. Gave him a loan, believing in his potential. That loan became the foundation of his charitable work, proving that when we believe in others, amazing things happen. Khalil squeezed my hand under the table. I wanted to vomit. So without further ado, please welcome our rising star in philanthropy, Khalil. The audience applauded. Khalil stood, straightening his tie. Before Khalil speaks, the MC announced, we have a short video highlighting his journey. This was it. I saw Jennifer signal the tech booth. The lights dimmed completely. The massive screen behind the stage flickered to life. It started exactly as planned, Khalil's social media posts about charity work. Then, suddenly, the screen went black. My heart raced. What was happening? The screen lit up again, but instead of our expose, it showed Khalil in front of the hospital, speaking directly to the camera. Tonight isn't just about me, Video Khalil said. It's about the power of family. I whipped around to look at Jennifer. She was frantically typing on her laptop, panic on her face. Technical difficulties, the MC announced smoothly. Let's move straight to Khalil's speech. Khalil practically bounced to the stage, completely unfazed. Thank you, Clifford. You know, when my sister Madison loaned me money for what she thought were medical bills. The audience chuckled warmly. My blood ran cold. She probably didn't expect it would lead to this. But sometimes the greatest acts of charity come from misdirection. Reed grabbed my arm. What is he doing? Tonight, Khalil continued, I'm proud to announce that not only will I match Clifford's $10,000 donation to the Children's Hospital, I'll be dedicating the new wing to Madison Armstrong, whose trust in me made all this possible. The crowd erupted in applause. Mum was sobbing openly now. And Madison! Khalil looked directly at me, his smile razor-sharp. That loan you gave me, check your phone. My phone buzzed. A bank notification. Transfer received, $10,000. Consider it paid back, Khalil announced to the crowd, with interest, in the form of a legacy that will help children for years to come. More applause. People were standing now. I felt the room spinning. He'd outplayed us. Somehow, he'd known about the presentation and hijacked it, turned my attempt to expose him into his crowning moment. Let's hear it for the Armstrong siblings, Clifford called out. Proof that family and philanthropy go hand in hand. Khalil gestured for me to join him on stage. The spotlight found me. Hundreds of eyes watched, expecting the proud sister to embrace her charitable brother. Reed squeezed my hand. Go. We'll figure something out. In a daze, I walked to the stage. Khalil hugged me tight, whispering in my ear, Next time you plan a surprise, sis, maybe don't use my ex-girlfriend's best friend as your tech support. Jennifer still has a thing for me. Sends me everything. He pulled back, smiling broadly for the cameras. Smile, Maddie, you just became part of my origin story. The flashbulbs popped, the crowd cheered, and I stood there, frozen, realizing I'd just helped my brother pull off his biggest con yet. But the night wasn't over, and neither was I. As the applause continued, I grabbed the microphone from Khalil's hand. His smug smile faltered. Thank you, everyone, I said, my voice surprisingly steady. Since my brother's been so honest about our story tonight, I think I should share my version. Khalil tried to reach for the mic. I stepped away. You see, Khalil did ask me for money, but not for charity. I pulled out my phone. He said it was for medical bills, urgent ones. He called me crying. The audience grew quiet. Mum stood up, confusion on her face. Madison, Khalil warned, still smiling for the cameras, don't do this. I clicked open my photos. 2 days after I transferred him $10,000, my entire savings, he posted these. I held my phone to the mic and played his voice message. "Oh, come on, Maddie. You really believed that? I needed a vacation, and you're always so generous. It's not like you can't afford it." The ballroom was dead silent now. Clifford stepped forward, frowning. "Those Miami Beach photos you all saw in his charitable posts? That was my money. Those designer clothes he wears to hospital photo ops? My money." "She's just jealous." Khalil grabbed the mic back. "Everyone knows how success can strain family relationships." "Really?" I pulled out my second phone, the burner Reed had given me earlier. "Then explain this email to Jennifer from an hour ago." I played the audio. "Thanks for the heads up about their plan. Once the gala's done, we'll talk about that private dinner you wanted. And don't worry about the hospital wing. Clifford's money will cover my donation. Madison's loan was just seed funding for my image." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Clifford's face turned red. "The hospital records show 0 donations from Khalil," I continued. "The only thing he's donated is other people's money and trust." Security guards started moving toward the stage. Khalil's charm cracked completely. "You think you're so smart?" he snarled, grabbing my arm. "Who's going to believe you now? I already paid you back." "With what money, Khalil?" I turned to Clifford. "Did you give him an advance on the donation?" Clifford stormed onto the stage. "Is this true? Did you use my reputation to—" "I can explain everything." Khalil backed away. "It's all part of a bigger plan." "The only plan," I said into the mic, "was to keep conning people who trusted you, starting with your own sister." Mum appeared at the stage stairs, tears streaming down her face. "Khalil, tell me this isn't true." "Mum, please." He tried to reach for her. "Madison's trying to ruin everything because she's jealous. I paid her back." "With Clifford's money," I said. "Check your account, Clifford. I bet that transfer just happened today." Clifford was already on his phone. His face said everything. "Security!" he barked. "Escort this young man out and call my lawyer." As guards approached, Khalil made one last desperate grab for the mic. "Everything I did for us, for our family's reputation. Madison's just too stupid to see the bigger picture." "No," I said quietly, but the mic caught every word. "Everything you did for yourself. And you didn't just steal money, you stole people's trust, their hope, their belief in genuine charity." The guards reached him. He struggled, his perfect suit wrinkling. "You'll regret this," he shouted as they dragged him toward the exit. "I'm the only one who ever made this family matter." Mum collapsed into a chair, sobbing. I knelt beside her. "I'm so sorry, Mum. I tried to tell you." "No." She grabbed my hands. "I'm sorry. I should have seen it, should have listened when you tried to warn me." Clifford addressed the stunned crowd. "Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of the board, I deeply apologise for this situation. Rest assured, any misappropriated funds will be recovered." Reed appeared with Jennifer, who looked devastated. "I'm so sorry," Jennifer whispered. "I never thought. He was so convincing." "He always is," I said. "That's how he operates." The MC tried to restore order, announcing a brief intermission. As the audience buzzed with shocked conversations, Clifford approached our table. "Madison," he said gravely, "thank you for your courage. We'll make this right." "The Children's Hospital," I said. "They shouldn't suffer because of this." He nodded. "The donation will still happen, in your name, if you'll accept it." "No." I stood up. "Give it in my mother's name. She's the one who taught us about real giving, even if only one of us learned the lesson." As the gala dissolved into chaos around us, Mum squeezed my hand. "You protected him for so long," she said. "Maybe this time you protected everyone else from him instead." Through the grand windows, I watched security escorting Khalil to a waiting police car. He looked small now, nothing like the giant his lies had created. The truth had finally caught up with him, and somehow it felt worse than any revenge I'd planned. The morning after the gala, my doorbell rang. Mum stood there, holding 2 coffee cups and a manila envelope. "Thought you might need this," she said, handing me a cup. "The police dropped this off at my house. They need us to verify some statements." We sat at my kitchen table, spreading out papers documenting Khalil's deceptions. Bank statements, emails, social media posts. Seeing it all laid out made my stomach turn. "Did you sleep?" Mum asked. "No. You?" She shook her head. I kept thinking about all the signs I ignored, the excuses I made for him. My phone buzzed. A text from Clifford. "Board meeting in an hour. Your presence would be appreciated." "Go," Mum said, reading over my shoulder. "I'll handle the police paperwork." The hospital boardroom was packed. Jennifer sat in a corner, looking exhausted. Clifford stood at the head of the table. "Madison," he gestured for me to sit. "We've been discussing how to move forward." "I'll repay whatever Khalil took," I started. "No." Clifford held up his hand. "That's not why you're here. We want to offer you a position." I blinked. "What?" "Our new transparency initiative," Jennifer explained. "After last night, we need someone who understands both the charitable sector and, well, how people can exploit it." "We're creating a verification system for donors," Clifford added, "to prevent another situation like this. Your background in finance and your recent experience make you uniquely qualified." Before I could respond, my phone rang. "Read." "Turn on the news," he said without greeting. "Now." Someone pulled up a news website on the boardroom screen. There was Khalil being led into court in handcuffs. The headline read, "Local philanthropist charged with fraud, more victims coming forward." "He wasn't just scamming us," Reed explained. "Police found evidence of multiple schemes, different names, different causes, same pattern." My hands shook as I read the scrolling details. Children's charities, veterans' organisations, disaster relief funds. Khalil had worked his way through them all. "I'll take the job," I told Clifford, "but I have conditions." "Name them." "First, we create a victims' compensation fund. Anyone Khalil scammed gets repaid." He nodded. "Already in progress." "Second, we develop educational programs. Teach people how to spot charity fraud." "Perfect," Jennifer said, taking notes. "And third," I took a deep breath, "the children's wing. Name it after the kids, it helps, not any donor. They deserve the recognition." The board members exchanged looks. Clifford smiled. "Done." That evening I found Mom sitting on her porch, staring at old family photos. "The police called," she said as I sat beside her. "Khalil's asking to see us." "Are you going?" She handed me a photo, teenage Khalil and me at the beach, both laughing at some forgotten joke. "You know what hurts most?" she said. "In every photo he's smiling, and I can't tell anymore which smiles were real and which were just practice for his cons." My phone chimed. A message from an unknown number. "Hey sis, they're letting me make one call a day. I know you're angry, but family is family. Please visit. I can explain everything." Mum read the message over my shoulder. "Are you going to respond?" I thought about all the times I'd covered for him, all the excuses I'd made, all the trust I'd given that he'd weaponized against others. "No," I deleted the message. Sometimes loving someone means letting them face consequences. Mum squeezed my hand. "You know, I always worried I failed him somehow, but looking at you, maybe I did something right after all." The porch wind chime tinkled, the one Khalil had given her last Christmas, probably bought with stolen money. Mum stood up and unhooked it. "Help me clean out his room tomorrow?" she asked. "The women's shelter needs donations, real ones this time." I hugged her tight. "Of course." That night I sat on my own porch, reading messages from people Khalil had scammed, some angry, some heartbroken, all grateful for the truth. Reed brought pizza and didn't mention Khalil once. Jennifer sent updates about the new verification system. My phone lit up one last time. Another unknown number. "You ruined everything. Hope you're happy." I blocked the number without responding. The truth was, I wasn't happy, but I was at peace. Sometimes protecting someone means protecting others from them. Sometimes love means letting go. And sometimes the hardest conversations aren't the ones we have with others, but the ones we finally have with ourselves. I deleted the last photo of Khalil from my phone and watched the sun set on a day without lies.
I buried my husband on a Wednesday. By Friday, his parents were offering me $10,000 to disappear. That's not an exaggeration, not a metaphor. A literal check, crisp and cold, slid across my kitchen table like it was a business transaction, like I was selling a used car, or a piece of furniture they didn't want cluttering up their perfect lives. "My name is Stella," I said, staring at the check, but not touching it. "And that's my son you're trying to buy." Meredith didn't flinch. Her lipstick was perfect, not a single hair out of place. Her pearls gleamed like they knew they belonged to someone who never got her hands dirty. Otis sat beside her, arms crossed, his expression carved from stone. "This isn't about money," Meredith said, her voice as smooth as the silk blouse she wore. "It's about what's best for Noah, my son, my baby." He was only 4, curled up on the couch behind me, watching cartoons with a blanket tucked under his chin, completely unaware that the people sitting at our table were trying to erase me from his life. "You think what's best for him is to lose his mother?" I said, eyes locked on hers. "He's already lost his father," Otis cut in. "He needs stability, tradition, a family name that means something." I laughed. I couldn't help it. It came out sharp and bitter. "You mean your name?" Meredith's mouth twitched. "You're grieving, Stella, I understand. But you're not equipped for this. You're alone, no job, no plan. What kind of future can you give him?" I stood up so fast my chair screeched across the floor. "You didn't even like Liam," I snapped. "You barely spoke to him for the last 2 years, and now you want to play Grieving Parents of the Year?" Otis stood too, towering over me. "Watch your tone." "No," I said. "You don't get to come into my house and tell me how to raise my son." Meredith slid the check closer. "It's not a bribe, it's a gift. To help you. Move on. Start over. We'll take care of Noah. You can visit, of course. Supervised at first." I stared at the check. $10,000. The amount felt insulting, like they hadn't even tried to make it convincing, like they thought I was cheap, desperate. And maybe I was. I'd lost Liam in a flash. One minute he was texting me he'd be home in 10, the next I was identifying his body at the morgue. I hadn't eaten in 2 days. I couldn't sleep. I hadn't figured out how to pay next month's rent. But I wasn't stupid. And I wasn't about to let them take my son. Still, I sat down. I picked up the pen. I signed the paper. Meredith exhaled, relieved. Otis nodded like a deal had been closed. They stood, gathered their things, and left with rehearsed sympathy. I waited until the door clicked shut behind them. Then I walked to the sink and turned on the water. Ice cold. I held the check under the stream and watched the ink bleed down the drain. Noah padded into the kitchen, rubbing his eyes. "Mommy?" I turned, crouched, and pulled him into my arms. "Hey, baby. Everything's okay." He rested his head on my shoulder. "I miss Daddy." "I know," I whispered. "Me too." He didn't see me pack our bags that night. He didn't know I'd already called Maya, my best friend since college, and asked her to find us a place. Anywhere far. He didn't hear me call Tyler, my brother, and ask if he could help me change my name legally, quietly. He didn't know that I wasn't running away. I was setting the stage. Because here's the thing about grief. It makes people underestimate you. They think you're broken. They think you'll roll over and let them take whatever they want. But I wasn't broken. I was just getting started. They thought they'd bought my silence, but they had no clue who they were dealing with. The first night Noah and I slept in the motel off Route 7, he curled up beside me in a twin bed with a stuffed dinosaur clutched to his chest. I lay awake, staring at the water-stained ceiling, listening to the hum of the vending machine outside our door. My phone buzzed once. Maya. Maya. "Got you a place, small town, 2 states over, no questions asked. You'll like it. Sent the address." I texted back a single word. On our way. By morning, I'd cut off my old number, deleted every social account, and tossed my SIM card into a storm drain behind a gas station. Noah thought it was a game. "Are we spies, Mommy?" "Something like that," I smiled. "We're starting fresh." We drove for hours. I didn't cry. I didn't let myself. Not when Noah was watching. Not when I needed to be sharp. The town Maya found was quiet, tucked between hills and woods, the kind of place where people wave at stop signs and know each other's dogs by name. The house was a two-bedroom rental with peeling paint and a crooked mailbox, but it had a fenced yard and a washer that worked if you kicked it right. To me, it was a castle. Maya met us there with groceries, a prepaid phone, and a hug that lasted a full minute. "You okay?" she asked. "No," I said, "but I will be." We spent the next few weeks building a life. I got a job waitressing at a diner. Noah started preschool under my maiden name. I told people my husband had passed and I wanted a quiet place to raise my son. That was enough. No one pried. Then, one night, 2 months in, I got a message on the burner phone. Unknown number. Stella? I froze. No one called me that anymore. "This is Calvin. I just found out about Liam." I stared at the screen. My heart thumped once, hard. Calvin, Liam's younger brother, the one no one talked about, the one who'd vanished from every family photo after he left. I hadn't seen him since our wedding. I waited a full day before replying. "How did you get this number?" "Maya," I begged her, "I'm not here to cause trouble. I just want to talk. I met him at a coffee shop an hour away." Neutral ground. I sat at a corner table, hoodie up, sunglasses on. He walked in, taller than I remembered, scruff on his face, wearing a worn leather jacket that looked like it had stories of its own. He saw me and stopped. For a second, he didn't move. Then he slid into the seat across from me. "You look different," he said. "Grief does that." He nodded. "I'm sorry." I didn't respond. I didn't owe him warmth. "Why now?" I asked. "I didn't know he was gone." "No one told me. I found out through a mutual friend. I called my parents and they hung up on me." I raised an eyebrow. "That tracks." He leaned forward. "What happened?" I told him everything. The accident, the funeral, the check, the papers. His mouth tightened with every word. "They tried to buy your son?" he asked, voice low. "They tried to erase me." He shook his head. "I believe it." "You would know," I said. "You left. No one ever said why." His eyes darkened. "They threatened to cut me off if I didn't go to law school. I wanted to work in music. I told them no. Then they found out I was seeing someone they didn't approve of. They gave me a choice: fall in line or disappear. And you disappeared. I thought Liam would follow, but he didn't." I sipped my coffee. "He stayed, and it killed him." Calvin looked down. "There's something you should see." He pulled a folded letter from his jacket and slid it across the table. "I found this in a box of my stuff. From Liam, never sent." I unfolded it. The handwriting was unmistakable. "Cal, I messed up. I should have stood by you. I let them turn me into something I'm not. I'm trying to fix it. I'm changing my will. I'm leaving everything to Stella and Noah. I want out. I'm done pretending. If anything happens to me, promise me you'll look after them. I'm sorry. L." My hands shook. He was going to leave them. Calvin nodded. "Looks like it." I folded the letter and slid it into my bag. "Thank you." He hesitated. "I meant what I said. I want to help, if you'll let me." I looked at him, really looked. The same eyes as Liam, but softer, sadder. No arrogance, just quiet resolve. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no. That night, I tucked Noah into bed and sat on the porch with a blanket wrapped around my shoulders. I watched the stars and thought about the letter, about Calvin, about the way Liam had tried, too late, to break free. I wasn't too late. I had time. I had a plan. And now I had an ally. The first time Calvin helped Noah build a birdhouse, I stood at the kitchen window and watched them like I was watching someone else's life. Noah held the hammer too tight, tongue poking out in concentration, while Calvin crouched beside him, guiding his hands. "Gentle," Calvin said. "Like this. Let the hammer do the work." Noah looked up at him. "Are you a builder?" Calvin grinned. "Not really, but I've broken enough stuff in my life to know how to fix a few things. Noah giggled, and I felt something shift in my chest. Not grief, not anger, something warmer. Dangerous, but warm. Later, when Noah was asleep, I found Calvin in the garage, sanding the edges of the birdhouse. "You didn't have to do all that," I said. He looked up. "I wanted to." I leaned against the doorway. "He likes you." "I like him." We didn't say anything for a few seconds. Then I asked, "Why are you still here?" He set the sander down. "Because I think your war is mine too." That was the first time I kissed him. It wasn't planned. It wasn't even romantic. It was messy and sudden and full of years we'd both lost. But it stuck. And after that, he didn't leave. We didn't rush anything. Noah called him Cal, and Calvin never pushed for more. He was just there, at bedtime, at breakfast, on rainy days when we built pillow forts and watched old cartoons. He never tried to be Liam. He was just himself, steady, present. 6 months in, we sat across from a lawyer Tyler recommended, someone discreet. "Custody?" the lawyer asked, flipping through the papers I'd kept hidden in a shoebox under my bed. "You signed it over." "I signed a piece of paper," I said. "Not my soul." Calvin slid the letter from Liam across the table. He was rewriting his will. He wanted Stella and Noah protected. The lawyer read it, then looked at us. "You're married?" "Not yet," Calvin said. "But we will be." I looked at him. That was the first I'd heard him say it out loud. The lawyer nodded. "There's a clause in family court, best interest of the child. If you're married and Calvin is acting as a parent, we can petition to amend the birth certificate, especially if the biological father is deceased and the original custody agreement was signed under duress." "Can we do it quietly?" I asked. He smiled. "We can do it legally, which is better." It took months. Paperwork, hearings, background checks, but no one from the Douglas family contested it because no one knew. They thought I'd vanished, that I'd taken the money and run. They didn't realize I was building an army. The day we got the new birth certificate in the mail, I sat on the porch and stared at it. Noah Liam Cunningham Douglas. Father, Calvin Douglas. Mother, Stella Cunningham. Calvin came out holding 2 mugs of coffee. "Is that it?" I handed it to him. He read it, then looked at me. "You okay?" "I think so." He sat beside me. "You know they'll find out eventually." "I'm counting on it." We got married at the courthouse. No dress, no guests, just Maya, Tyler, and Noah holding a ring box and grinning like he'd just won a prize. Afterward, we went to a diner and ordered pancakes and milkshakes. Calvin let Noah pour syrup until it overflowed. "You're gonna rot your teeth," I said. Calvin winked. "Worth it." That night, I tucked Noah in and sat beside him. "Calvin's your dad now," I said gently. He blinked up at me. "I know." "You okay with that?" He nodded. "He makes good pancakes." I laughed, then kissed his forehead. "Yeah, he really does." Later, I found Calvin in the living room, flipping through channels. "He knows," I said. Calvin looked up. "And?" "He's good." He set the remote down. "You ever think about going back?" "Every day." "You scared?" I shook my head. "I'm ready." He leaned forward. "Then let's do it." I pulled out a folder from the drawer. Inside were copies of everything: birth certificate, marriage license, custody documentation. All legal, all airtight. I handed him the folder. "Let's see how they like being on the other side." He opened it, flipped through the pages, then looked at me. "They won't see it coming." "No," I said. "They won't." Because while they were busy polishing their silver and pretending to grieve, I was rewriting the story they thought they controlled. And this time, I was the one holding the pen. The gala photo hit my inbox on a Thursday morning. Maya forwarded it with no subject line, just the image: Meredith and Otis standing on a stage under a banner that read "Guardians of Tomorrow." Behind them, a slideshow played pictures of smiling children. One of them was Noah, age 4, in a sweater I'd knit while crying myself to sleep. I stared at the screen, my coffee going cold in my hand. Calvin walked in, towel around his neck, fresh from a run. You okay? I turned the laptop toward him. Look at this. He leaned over, then sat down slowly. Is that? Yep, that's our son. On a projector. At a fundraiser. He blinked. How the hell did they get that photo? I scrolled down. They must have pulled it from Liam's old files, or maybe the school from before we left. Calvin frowned. They're using him. They always were. The article attached praised the Douglas family for their commitment to legacy and mentorship, highlighting their guardianship of their late son's child. No mention of me, of Calvin, of the fact that Noah hadn't seen them in over 3 years. They're building their image off a lie, I said. Calvin's jaw tightened. Then let's give them the truth. We got married the following week. Again. This time, it wasn't in a courthouse. It was in a field behind our house, just us, Noah, Maya, and Tyler. I wore a simple white dress. Calvin wore suspenders and a crooked tie Noah picked out. When we kissed, Noah clapped so hard he nearly fell over. Do we get cake now? He asked. Absolutely, I said, scooping him up. That night, we filed the final paperwork. New IDs, new school records. Noah was now enrolled under Cunningham Douglas, with us listed as his parents. No mention of Liam, no connection to the old life. It was clean, legal, final. 2 weeks later, I got the email. From unknown sendraprotonmail.com. Subject: They're coming for him again. No body, no signature, just a single attachment. A screenshot of a private investigator's report. My name, my address, a photo of Noah at the park. I sat frozen at the kitchen table, heart pounding. Calvin walked in. What's wrong? I turned the laptop. They found us. He scanned the email. How? I don't know, but they're watching. He grabbed his phone and called Tyler. We need to lock everything down, now. We changed our routines. I stopped posting in the local moms group. Calvin drove Noah to school instead of me. We installed cameras, added locks, and checked the mailbox with gloves. But we didn't run. We'd done that already. This time, we stayed. The winter play was coming up, Noah's first big performance. He was playing a snowflake, and he took it very seriously. I have to twirl, he told us at dinner. Miss Jenny said snowflakes twirl. Calvin nodded solemnly. Then we better practice. We moved the coffee table and spent the next hour spinning in the living room until we were all dizzy and laughing. The night of the play, the auditorium was packed, parents jostled for seats, cameras ready. I wore a black turtleneck and sat in the front row, Calvin's hand in mine. We kept our coats on, just in case. The lights dimmed, the curtain opened. Noah stepped onto the stage, arms out, spinning like his life depended on it. My heart swelled. I clapped until my hands hurt. Then I heard it. The familiar clipped heels. The whisper of perfume I hadn't smelled in years. I turned my head. Meredith. She walked down the aisle like she owned it, Otis behind her, scanning the crowd. They didn't see me, not yet. They were too focused on the stage. Then the announcer stepped up to the mic. Tonight's performers, the kindergarten snowflakes featuring Noah Cunningham Douglas, parents, Stella Cunningham and Calvin Douglas. The names echoed through the auditorium. I saw it happen in slow motion. Meredith's mouth parted. Otis froze, gasps rippled through the rows behind us. I turned, made eye contact, and smiled. Calvin leaned in. They know. Let them, I whispered. When the lights came back on, Noah ran into my arms, cheeks flushed. Did I do good? You were perfect, I said, kissing his forehead. We walked out into the lobby, hand in hand. Meredith and Otis were waiting by the doors. Stella? Meredith said, her voice low and sharp. Meredith, I replied, just as cool. Otis stepped forward. You forged documents. We'll have your marriage annulled. That child is ours. Calvin stepped between us. He's not a possession. He's our son. Meredith's eyes narrowed. This isn't over. I reached into my bag and handed her a folded piece of paper. What's this? She snapped. Proof, marriage license, birth certificate, custody documentation, all legal, all final. Otis looked like he'd swallowed a nail. And one more thing. Calvin added, pulling out a second envelope. Liam's letter, the one where he said he was leaving everything to Stella and Noah. He was done with your games. Meredith's lips curled. You think this scares us? No, I said, but it should. She stepped closer, eyes blazing. We'll ruin you in court. I didn't flinch. No, Meredith, you already tried that. This is what ruin looks like from your side. Then I turned and walked out, Noah in one hand, Calvin in the other. And for the first time in years, I didn't look back. The next morning, I found a dead rose on our front porch. Just one. Black-stemmed, wilted. No note, no card. Just the flower laid neatly against the welcome mat like a threat dressed in poetry. I picked it up with 2 fingers and dropped it straight into the trash. Meredith, Calvin said behind me. Obviously, I muttered, she's not subtle. She's also not done. We spent the rest of the morning calling our lawyer, scanning the security footage and double-checking every lock on the house. Tyler came by with a fresh set of legal documents and a look on his face I hadn't seen since the funeral. They're filing for emergency custody, he said, handing me the papers. Claiming fraud, emotional endangerment, false documentation. I skimmed the stack. They're throwing everything at the wall. Calvin leaned over my shoulder. They won't win. They don't care about winning, Tyler said. They care about bleeding you dry. I walked outside, needing air. Maya was already pulling up in her car. She stepped out with a bag of groceries and a look that said she knew everything before I even opened my mouth. Get in, she said. We're going for a drive. I didn't argue. We ended up at a coffee shop 2 towns over. I stared at my latte while Maya watched me like a hawk. You okay? She asked. No. Good. You shouldn't be. This is war. I looked up at her. They're using Noah as a pawn. They always were, but now you've got the board, and the king. I smiled despite myself. You've been watching too much chess drama. She leaned in. You need to hit back harder, publicly. I hesitated. You mean media? Controlled media, she said. I know someone, a journalist. She's been sniffing around the Douglas family for years. If we give her the right story, the right documents. I nodded slowly. Scorched earth. Exactly. Back home, Calvin was in the garage with Noah, helping him paint the birdhouse again, this time blue and green like a dragon's cave, according to Noah. I watched them through the window, then opened my laptop. I sent Maya everything. The letter from Liam, the birth certificate, the custody change, even the check. Yes, I'd kept a photo of it before I let the ink bleed down the sink. By the end of the week, the article was live. The price of legacy. A family's attempt to erase a widow and reclaim an heir. It hit like a bomb. By Monday, the school was fielding calls. Other parents were whispering. The gala photo was now the centerpiece of a scandal piece with quotes from anonymous sources about Meredith's manipulation, Otis's bullying, and the family's obsession with image over integrity. Brinley showed up at my door that night. I hadn't seen her since Liam's funeral. She looked tired, older, like the weight of their name had finally started to crush her too. I read the article, she said. I let her in. She sat on the edge of the couch like she didn't belong in her own skin. I want to help. Calvin walked in from the kitchen and froze. You sure about that? I am, she said. I'm tired of pretending they're good people. You knew what they did, I said. You stayed silent. I was scared, she whispered. They threatened to cut me off, said they'd ruin my husband's business. I didn't know what to do. And now? I asked. I want to testify. In court, I'll tell them everything. How they blackmailed Calvin into leaving, how they tried to bribe Liam's mistress after he died. I blinked. Mistress? She nodded. Her name was Elise. She worked at the firm. Meredith paid her to disappear. I found the emails. Calvin exhaled sharply. Jesus. I'll give them to your lawyer, Brinley said. I'm done protecting them. The trial date was set for 2 weeks later. We walked into that courtroom with everything, documents, testimony, the article, the letter. Brinley sat on the witness stand and told the truth, her voice shaking but clear. They didn't care about Noah, she said. They cared about control. Meredith sat stone-faced. Otis looked like he'd swallowed glass. Their lawyer tried to spin it, claimed concern, family duty, emotional instability on my part. I didn't flinch. I stood on the stand and said, they offered me $10,000 to disappear. I took it, not because I was giving up, but because I was getting ready. The judge didn't even need a recess. Custody, denied. Counterclaims, pending. Reputation, shattered. Outside the courthouse, cameras flashed. Reporters shouted questions. I didn't answer any. I just held Noah's hand and walked straight to the car. Inside, he looked up at me. Did we win? I smiled. We did. Calvin reached over and squeezed my hand. And for the first time in a long time, I felt like the storm had passed. But I knew better. This wasn't the end. It was just the cost of telling the truth. The courthouse lobby was buzzing when we stepped outside. Reporters, flashing cameras, people murmuring like they'd just witnessed a public execution. In a way, they had. Meredith stood by the marble column, arms crossed, lips tight. Otis was already halfway to the car, face red and jaw clenched like he was chewing rocks. I didn't stop walking, neither did Calvin, but Meredith did. Stella, she called, sharp and cold, like a slap across the face. I turned. Yes? This isn't over, I smiled. You've said that before. She stepped closer, lowering her voice. You think you've won because of a few signatures? A court ruling? You think that matters? Calvin stepped between us. Back off. Meredith ignored him. You forged a family. You think that makes you one of us? I don't want to be one of you, I said. I'm raising Noah to be better than that. Her eyes narrowed. You're nothing. A waitress with a sob story. And yet, I said, pulling the folded paper from my coat pocket, this nothing just beat you in court. She snatched the paper from my hand and unfolded it. It was the final custody ruling, stamped, signed, sealed. You think this is the end? She hissed. No, I said. I think this is the part where you finally realize you lost. Otis appeared beside her, grabbing her arm. Let's go. She didn't move for a second. Then she crumpled the paper in her fist and turned away. We watched them walk off, Calvin's arm sliding around my waist. I looked up at him. She's going to come back harder. She can try, he said. We're not hiding anymore. Back at the house, Maya was waiting on the porch with a bottle of champagne and 2 plastic cups. Don't judge, she said. It's all I had in the car. I laughed. You're ridiculous. She handed me a cup. To freedom. We clinked and drank. Noah was inside with Tyler, building a Lego city on the living room floor. I still can't believe Brinley showed up, Maya said, settling beside me on the steps. She had receipts. She was done being their puppet. She's braver than I thought. I nodded. She saw what they were willing to do, to their own blood. Maya leaned back on her elbows. You know what the best part is? What? They don't even know how much worse it's about to get. I raised an eyebrow. What did you do? She grinned. I may have forwarded the court documents to a few journalists, and the photos, and the emails from Brinley. I stared at her. You're a menace. Thank you. The next morning, the media storm hit like a tidal wave. Douglas family legacy crumbles after custody. Battle exposes lies, bribes, and hidden affairs. The headline was everywhere. Local news, online blogs, even a segment on the morning talk show. The article included screenshots of the original check Meredith gave me, excerpts from Liam's letter, and the court's ruling. But the real bombshell? Elise. She came forward. Her interview aired 3 days later. She sat in a soft-lit studio, hands folded in her lap, voice shaking as she described her relationship with Liam and how Meredith offered her $50,000 to leave town and never speak about the baby she'd lost just weeks after Liam's death. I watched the interview with my hand over my mouth. They painted him as a saint, Elise said, eyes glassy. But he was scared. He wanted out. He told me he didn't trust his parents. He said they'd do anything to protect their name. The host leaned in. Do you believe his death was an accident? Elise paused. I don't know, but I know he was planning to leave them, and now he's gone. The next day, Calvin got a call from a private investigator friend of Tyler's. You're going to want to sit down for this, the guy said. He brought over a file, photos, phone records, credit card charges from the week of Liam's death. There's a pattern, the investigator said, laying out the timeline. Liam had a meeting scheduled with a lawyer. He never showed, but someone used his card an hour later at a gas station 20 miles away. Who? Calvin asked. Footage is grainy, but it's a man, not Liam. And the car? Registered to one of Otis's shell companies. I felt the air leave my lungs. You think they had something to do with it? I asked. I can't say for sure, the investigator said. But it doesn't look clean. I looked at Calvin. His hands were clenched, his face unreadable. They killed him, he said quietly. Or they made sure no one looked too hard. We sat in silence for a long time. Then I stood up. We go public. All of it. Calvin nodded. Everything. That night, I sat down with Noah to read him a story. He curled up beside me, thumb in his mouth, the way he always did when he was tired. Mommy? He asked. Yeah, baby? Are the bad people gone now? I looked at him, at his wide eyes and soft curls. They're not gone, I said, but they can't hurt us anymore. He nodded. Okay. I kissed his forehead and turned out the light. Downstairs, I poured a glass of wine and stepped onto the porch. Calvin joined me, wrapping his arm around my shoulder. They thought they could scare you off, he said. They thought wrong. He clinked his glass against mine. To the end? I shook my head. To the beginning. The courthouse was quieter this time. No cameras, no crowd, just the sound of heels on tile and the occasional squeak of a rolling briefcase. This wasn't about custody anymore. This was civil court, defamation, emotional damages, and the slow public unraveling of Meredith and Otis's carefully curated empire. Calvin and I sat at the plaintiff's table, hands clasped under the table. Across the aisle, Meredith sat stiff as a statue, dressed in a muted gray suit that probably cost more than our car. Otis looked worse, pale, sweating like the walls were closing in. Our lawyer stood. Your Honor, we submit evidence that the defendants knowingly and maliciously manipulated custody proceedings, misrepresented the status of the child's guardianship to the public, and engaged in a pattern of harassment against our clients. The judge nodded. Proceed. The first witness was Maya. She stepped up in her blazer, hair pulled back, holding a manila folder like it was a sword. I was there when Stella received the check, she said. I watched her cry for 2 hours before she packed a bag and left, not because she was giving up, but because she was scared, and they made her that way. Meredith's lawyer objected. Speculation. Overruled, the judge said. Continue. Maya opened the folder. Here's a copy of the check. Here's the email Meredith sent after Stella left, referring to her as the girl who took the money and ran. Here's the private investigator's report, tracking Stella across state lines. I glanced at Meredith. Her jaw twitched, but she said nothing. Next came Brinley. She looked nervous, but she stood tall. My parents forced Calvin out of the family, she said. They told him he was a disgrace. They threatened to ruin his life if he didn't cut ties. They did the same to Liam when they found out he was rewriting his will. The courtroom murmured. You're saying your brother was changing his will before his death? The judge asked. Yes, Brinley said. He told me. He wanted everything to go to Stella and Noah. He said he was done pretending. And what happened after he died? My parents paid Liam's mistress to disappear. They told me she was a threat to the family's image. Do you have evidence of this? Yes. She held up a flash drive. Emails, bank transfers, all of it. Otis stood suddenly. That's enough. The judge banged the gavel. Sit down, sir. He didn't move. She's lying. She's bitter. She's always been weak. Brinley flinched. I stood. She's stronger than you'll ever be. The judge pointed at Otis. One more outburst, and I'll have you removed. He sat down, face flushed and shaking. The next hour was a blur of documents, testimony, and cross-examinations. Calvin spoke about the letter from Liam, about the night we got the anonymous email, about the fear of being followed, the cameras we installed, the dead rose on our porch. Then I took the stand. I looked directly at Meredith. You tried to erase me, I said. You treated my son like a trophy. You used his face to raise money, to gain sympathy, to polish your image. You told me I was nothing, and maybe I was, back then, but I'm not anymore. Her lawyer tried to object. The judge waved him off. I built a life, I said, with no help from you. I protected my son when you tried to take him. I married a man who loves him like he's always been his, and now I'm standing here, not because I want revenge, but because I want peace, and you made that impossible. I stepped down. The judge called a recess. Outside, in the hallway, Brinley sat beside me. You okay? She asked. I think so. She looked down at her hands. They're going to hate me. They already did, I said. Now they just can't hide it. The ruling came the next morning. The judge awarded us damages for emotional distress, legal fees, and slander. But more than that, he issued a formal statement condemning the Douglas family for abuse of power, manipulation of legal processes, and a pattern of psychological coercion. It was on the front page by noon. Douglas dynasty falls. Judge condemns abuse of power in custody scandal. Calvin and I sat on the porch that night, watching Noah chase fireflies in the yard. You think they'll ever come back from this? He asked. No, I said. Not really. He nodded. Good. Noah ran up, holding a glowing jar. Look, I caught 5. I smiled. That's amazing, baby. He held it up to Calvin. You want to let them go with me? Absolutely, Calvin said, standing. I watched them walk to the edge of the yard, open the lid, and lift the jar. The tiny lights floated up and away, blinking like stars. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't feel like I was fighting. I felt like I'd won. The letter had been sitting in the bottom of Liam's old coat pocket for years. I found it while packing up the last of the boxes from the storage unit, the one I hadn't touched since the night we left. I almost didn't open it. I thought I'd read everything he ever wrote, but this one was different. The envelope was sealed and yellowed at the edges, addressed to me in handwriting that looked rushed. I sat on the floor, legs crossed, and peeled it open. Stella. If you're reading this, I didn't get to say what I needed to. I don't know how much time I have left, but I know I've messed up. I've let them control too much, and I've hurt you because of it. I'm trying to fix it. I've changed the will. I've told Calvin everything. I'm going to meet with the lawyer tomorrow. If something happens to me, please don't trust them. Don't let them near Noah. They'll twist him into something he's not. Protect him, and protect yourself. I love you. I'm sorry. La. I read it twice before I realized I was shaking. Calvin walked in, carrying a box labeled books, and stopped when he saw me on the floor. You okay? I held up the letter. He sat beside me. Another one? I handed it to him without speaking. He read it slowly, eyes scanning every word like they might change if he blinked. When he finished, he looked at me. He knew. I nodded. He was scared. He was trying to get out. I folded the letter and slid it into my bag. They made sure he didn't. We didn't speak for a while. The silence wasn't heavy. It was just full. Later that night, we stood in the kitchen while Noah colored at the table. The radio played softly. Calvin stirred pasta on the stove. I poured a glass of wine and leaned against the counter. Do you think they'll come back? I asked. Calvin shook his head. Not after the ruling. Not after Elise's interview. Not after Brinley. But they still have money. Connections. He turned to face me. They had everything, and you still beat them. I let that sit for a second. I'm not sure I'm the same person I was, I said. You're not, he said. You're stronger. I looked over at Noah. He was humming to himself, drawing a dragon with a crown. He doesn't even remember them, I said quietly. Calvin came over and put his arms around me. Good. We ate dinner at the table, all 3 of us. Noah told us about a kid at school who tried to eat a crayon. Calvin pretended to be horrified. I laughed so hard I nearly choked. After Noah went to bed, I sat on the porch with a blanket around my shoulders. Calvin joined me, handing me a mug of tea. Remember when we used to be afraid of them? I asked. He nodded. I remember hating behind curtains when the doorbell rang. I remember thinking I'd never get my son back. He looked at me. You didn't just get him back. You gave him a life. I sipped the tea. What now? He smiled. We live. The next morning, I took the letter to our lawyer. He read it carefully, then looked up at me. It's not a smoking gun, he said, but it's something. Could it be enough to open an investigation? He nodded slowly. If we pair it with the credit card records, the gas station footage, Elise's statement, maybe. Do it, I said. He closed the folder. You're sure? Yes. I walked out of the office and into the sunlight. I didn't feel angry. I didn't feel afraid. I just felt ready. Back home, Noah was in the yard with Calvin, chasing bubbles. I stood there for a second, watching them. Calvin caught Noah mid-run and spun him around, both of them laughing so loud it echoed. I walked over and joined them. Noah reached for my hand. Mommy, we're trying to pop all the bubbles before they hit the ground. I grinned. That sounds like a mission. It is, he said seriously. A very important one. We spent the next hour running through the yard, popping every last bubble. When the sun started to set, we lay in the grass, all three of us staring at the sky. You know what I think? Noah said. What? Calvin asked. I think we're the best family ever. I looked at Calvin. He looked at me. Yeah, buddy, I said. I think you're right. Sometimes karma takes its time. Sometimes it waits, watches, lets people dig their own graves with silk gloves on. And sometimes, if you're lucky, karma hands you the shovel. They thought karma didn't recognize their address. Turns out, sometimes karma lets you deliver the package yourself.
You're paying for the wedding, my mom said, like she was asking me to pass the salt. I blinked. My fork hovered mid-air, a piece of overcooked chicken sliding off the tines and landing back on my plate with a soft thud. I'm sorry? I asked, even though I'd heard her perfectly. You heard her, my dad added, not looking up from his glass of wine. You're the one with the money. Ellis chuckled from across the table, thumbs flying over his phone. Yeah, Raquel, you make like 6 figures, right? It's not a big deal. I looked at each of them. My mother, in her Sunday pearls, hair sprayed into a helmet, smiling like this was a normal conversation. My father, half listening, already mentally back in his recliner. And Ellis, my golden boy baby brother, still in his hoodie, not even pretending to be present. My name's Raquel, I said, mostly to myself. I'm 32, single, and apparently the family ATM. Nobody laughed. Clara, Mom, leaned forward, elbows on the table like we were negotiating a car deal. It's not like we're asking you to pay for everything, she said, tapping her manicured nails on the table. Just the essentials. The venue, the catering, the photographer, the dress, the DJ, the flowers, That's everything, I said. Well, Harmony has a vision, she snapped. And Ellis deserves a special day. Harmony wants a champagne wall and a live harpist, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. That's not a wedding. That's a music video. Ellis shrugged. She's got taste. You wouldn't get it. I clenched my jaw. How much are we talking? Clara smiled like she'd won something. 48,000. I laughed. Not a real laugh. The kind that slips out when your mind is trying to protect itself from a stroke. You're serious. Of course we are, Patrick said. You don't have a husband or kids. You've got nothing tying you down. What's the point of all that money if not to help your family? There it was. The line. The one they always used when they wanted something. I'd heard it when they needed help with their mortgage, when Ellis totaled his car, when Mom's boutique went under, when Dad's consulting gig dried up. I was the fallback plan, the invisible net, the good daughter. Ellis is our future, Clara said, like I hadn't just paid off their second mortgage 3 years ago, like I hadn't skipped vacations, birthdays, and sleep to make sure they stayed afloat. Ellis finally looked up. You're not going to be weird about this, right? I stared at him. At the man-child who still lived in the guest house, who hadn't held a job longer than a year, who once asked me to Venmo him money for emotional labor. No, I said, smiling. I'll take care of it. Clara beamed. I knew you'd do the right thing. Ellis went back to his phone. Patrick poured himself more wine. The conversation moved on to linen colors and signature cocktails. And I sat there, nodding, smiling, letting them believe I was still their puppet. But in my mind, they'd just signed their eviction notice. 5 years ago, my parents were broke. Not just cutting back on dinners out. Broke, I mean foreclosure notices, collection calls, and my mom crying in the laundry room broke. "Raquel, we're going to lose the house," she'd said over the phone, her voice cracking like she was the victim of some natural disaster and not 2 decades of bad spending habits. "We just need a little help." I was 27, working 70-hour weeks at a cybersecurity firm, eating ramen in a studio apartment while sending them money every month. I didn't even ask how much they owed. I just said, "Let me look into it." That's how I ended up owning their house. It was my lawyer friend Sierra who made it happen. She sat across from me at a diner, sipping a Diet Coke, flipping through the paperwork. "They're signing it over to you," she said. "That's the only way this works. You buy it outright, pay off the bank, and lease it back to them for $1 a year. You sure you want to do this?" "They'll be on the street if I don't." Sierra raised an eyebrow. "You're saving them. Again. Just make sure you keep the deed somewhere safe." I did. I kept everything. Emails, signatures, payment receipts. I even had the check image from the down payment I made to the bank. They called it a temporary solution. Tax benefits, they said. Just a formality. And once the paperwork was filed, they forgot, like I'd never saved them at all. Last week I called Sierra. "I need the deed," I said, "and the lease agreement." "Something happened?" I paused. Let's just say I'm done being generous. She didn't ask questions. She never did. That's why I trusted her. We met at her office. She handed me a manila envelope thick with documents. "Everything's clean," she said. "You're the sole owner. No liens, no disputes. They signed it all willingly." "Good. Are you selling it?" I nodded. She stared at me for a second, then leaned back in her chair. "I've waited 10 years to see you put yourself first. I'll get you a referral." On the drive home, I called Cameron James, a real estate agent Sierra had recommended. Discreet, fast, no drama. He picked up on the second ring. "This is Cameron." "Hi, I have a property I'd like to sell." Quietly. "Address?" I gave it. He whistled. "That neighborhood's hot. You'll get offers fast if the paperwork's clean." "It is." "Okay, I'll run comps and send you a listing draft by tomorrow. You want to do showings or just go straight to cash buyers?" "Cash, no showings." "You got it." I hung up and stared at the dashboard. My hands were shaking, just a little. Not from nerves, from relief. 2 days later, Cameron called. "I've got a buyer," he said. "Full cash offer. Wants to close in 3 weeks." I didn't hesitate. "Accept it." "You sure?" "They'll be out by then." He paused. "You want me to handle the notice?" "No," I said. "I'll let the paperwork do the talking." After I hung up, I pulled the envelope out of my bag and laid it on the kitchen table. The deed sat on top, my name in bold black letters. They'd forgotten who saved them, but I hadn't. And now they were going to remember. "Raquel, babe, you have to try this cake," Harmony said, waving a fork in my face like it was a magic wand. "It's passion fruit with champagne buttercream. So chic, right?" I smiled politely and took the tiniest bite. It was fine, sweet and expensive, like everything else on the tasting table. Harmony clapped her hands. "Ugh, I knew you'd get it. You have such elevated taste. I told Ellis, I was like, Raquel's gonna make this wedding next level." Across the table, her bridesmaids nodded like backup singers, all of them in matching blush jumpsuits, sipping mimosas like their lives depended on it. I glanced at the planner's clipboard. The tally was already pushing 60 grand. Custom floral arch, drone videography, imported linens, a horse-drawn carriage, just for the entrance. "Ellis is so lucky to have you," one of the bridesmaids said, leaning toward Harmony. Harmony tossed her hair. Well, he's a work in progress, but I'm investing in his potential. I looked at her, eyebrows raised. She laughed. I mean, he just needs a little polish. Once the wedding's done and the baby comes, he'll settle down. Baby? I asked. Oh, not yet, she said quickly. But eventually. I mean, what else is there, right? The bridesmaids giggled. I took another sip of flat champagne. After the tasting, we walked through the venue, a converted vineyard with chandeliers in the trees and a koi pond shaped like a heart. Harmony was already talking about signature cocktails named after their future children. Ellis showed up halfway through, late and sunburned, wearing board shorts and flip-flops. Yo, he said, fist-bumping the planner. This place is sick. Harmony rolled her eyes. Did you bring the guest list? He pulled out a crumpled piece of paper from his pocket. It's mostly my boys. You can just copy-paste from my birthday party. I watched them bicker over whether DJ Rays could play until 2 a.m. without a noise permit. No one asked my opinion. No one even looked at me unless it was to confirm I was still paying. Afterward, I sat in my car with the AC blasting, scrolling through my camera roll. I'd taken photos of the planner's invoice, the cake contract, the deposit slip. I texted them to Sierra. She replied almost instantly. Got them. This is a gold mine. Then, you sure you want to go through with this? I stared at the screen for a long time before typing back. They think I'm a bank. I'm done being their investment. That night, I wrote the check. $48,000. I sealed it in an envelope and dropped it off at the planner's office the next morning. She smiled so wide, I thought her face might crack. You're such a blessing to your family, she said. I nodded. She had no idea. No one did. The champagne wall was taller than me. Real bottles, too, not props. Each one tucked into a gold-rimmed shelf like a trophy. Guests were already lining up, giggling as they pulled them down and posed for selfies in front of the floral monogram. Smile, Raquel, Harmony chirped, dragging me into a photo with her and 3 of her bridesmaids. I smiled. The camera flashed. She didn't wait to see if I liked the picture. The ceremony had been exactly what I expected. Dramatic, overdone, and about as heartfelt as a perfume commercial. Ellis cried, though. That part surprised me. Not sure if it was from love or the realization that Harmony had officially become his new boss. Now we were deep into the reception. Golden drapes, floating candles, a jazz trio playing a slowed-down version of No Scrubs. I stood near the bar, watching it all like someone watching a movie they didn't audition for. My parents were glowing. Clara was in a floor-length navy gown, holding court near the sweetheart table, bragging about the family's generosity. Patrick was telling anyone who'd listen that Ellis was on the verge of a big career move, whatever that meant. Ellis passed by me on his way to the dance floor, giving me a lazy fist bump. Thanks again, sis, he said. You really came through. Of course, I said. He was gone before I finished the sentence. Harmony found me again near the end of dinner. She had a flute of rosé in one hand and a smear of lipstick on her teeth. You know, she said, leaning in like we were best friends, we've got to find someone for you. You're too pretty to be single forever. I'm good, thanks. No, seriously, you're not getting any younger, she said, laughing like it was a joke. I mean, you've got the money, the brains. Now you just need the ring. I looked at her, then down at my empty glass. I'll keep that in mind. She patted my arm like I was a sad aunt at a family reunion. You'll find someone. Don't give up. I walked away before I said something I'd regret. Outside, the air was cool and smelled like eucalyptus and smoke. Someone lit sparklers. A drone buzzed overhead, capturing the magic. I pulled out my phone. One new email. Subject, funds received. Property sale complete. I opened it. The wire transfer had gone through. The buyer officially took possession on Monday. I stared at the screen for a few seconds, then slipped the phone back into my clutch. Inside, Ellis and Harmony were slow dancing under a canopy of fairy lights. I raised a glass of untouched champagne toward them and whispered, "To liberation." Then I smiled. Not for the photos. For me. My phone started ringing at 7:12 a.m. on Tuesday. I let it go to voicemail. It rang again. Then a text. "Mom, call me right now. Something's wrong with the mail. We got some kind of notice?" I got up, made coffee, and sat on the couch with my laptop. Another text came through. "Mom, it says we have 30 days to vacate the house. What the hell is going on?" Then a call from Dad. Decline. Then Ellis. I finally picked up Clara's fourth call. "Raquel, thank God," she said, voice shrill and cracking. "We just got this letter saying we're being evicted. It has your name on it. Is this some kind of mistake?" "No," I said calmly. Silence. "What do you mean, no? I sold the house." A beat. Then, "You what?" "I sold it. The new owner takes possession next month." "You can't do that. This is our house. We've lived here for 20 years. "No," I said. "I've owned it for 5. You signed it over. Remember? Tax purposes? That was different. That was temporary." "No, it wasn't. You didn't even tell us." "I didn't need to." Patrick's voice cut in from the background. "You're out of your mind. You think you can just throw us into the street? You asked for help. I gave it. You forgot that part." "You're punishing us because you're bitter," Clara hissed, "because you can't stand to see Ellis happy." I almost laughed. "This isn't about Ellis. It's about boundaries." "You heartless little—" I hung up. The next call came from Ellis. "Ellis. Yo, is this a joke?" I didn't answer. "Ellis. Seriously? You're kicking Mom and Dad out?" "Ellis. After everything they've done for you?" "Ellis. You're messed up." I blocked his number. Then I turned off my phone and took my coffee out to the balcony. The sun was just coming up, casting gold over the rooftops. I breathed, not deeply, not dramatically, just normally, for the first time in a long time. That afternoon, I checked my DMs. There was one from River. River. "Hey, I heard about the wedding. Saw a few pics. You looked different. Lighter. Hope you're good." I stared at the message for a while. Then I typed back, "I am." And for once, it was true. By Friday, the fallout was in full swing. I was in line at the dry cleaner when Sierra called. "Turn on the local news," she said. "Channel 7. I pulled it up on my phone. There, in front of a city hall, was my mother, sobbing into a tissue, makeup streaked, surrounded by reporters. "They blindsided us," she cried. "My daughter, my own daughter, sold our home out from under us. We're being thrown out like trash." The reporter nodded solemnly. "And you had no idea?" "None," Clara sniffled. "She didn't even tell us, after everything we've done for her." Behind her, Patrick stood stiffly, arms crossed, eyes darting between the cameras. He looked like he wanted to disappear. I turned the volume down and paid for my clothes. By the time I got back to my apartment, the story was on 3 gossip blogs and a Reddit thread titled, "Rich Daughter Evicts, Parents After Brother's Wedding." The comments were split. Half were calling me a monster. The other half were practically building me a statue. Then Harmony posted a video to her story. "I just want stability," she said, eyes wide and glassy. "I can't raise a family in chaos. I didn't sign up for this." She was sitting in a car, lip gloss perfect, holding a Starbucks cup like it was a lifeline. I watched it twice. Then I checked Ellis's socials. Nothing. Until a screenshot landed in my inbox from someone anonymous. Porn Chi subject. "You might want to see this." It was an internal email from Ellis's job. HR had launched an investigation into unauthorized use of company funds for personal events. Apparently, he'd put some of the wedding expenses on a company card. The email ended with, "Effective immediately, Ellis is no longer employed with us." I stared at the screen. Then I laughed. A short, bitter breath of air. I didn't feel triumphant. I felt still, like the noise had finally stopped. That night, I met River for coffee. He was already at the cafe, sitting outside with his hands wrapped around a mug. "You look different," he said when I sat down. "Yeah?" "Peaceful." I stirred my drink. "It's been a week." He smiled. "I remember when you used to cancel dates because your mom needed help with a crisis that turned out to be a broken curtain rod." I rolled my eyes. "Don't remind me." "You were always the fixer." "Not anymore." He nodded. "I can see that." We sat in silence for a while, watching people walk by. A couple laughed across the street. A kid dropped his ice cream. "I'm proud of you," River said. I looked at him. "Not for what you did, for finally choosing yourself." I didn't say anything, but I didn't disagree. I was brushing my teeth when the buzzer rang. It was almost midnight. I checked the screen. Ellis. I stared at the monitor for a second, toothbrush still in my mouth, foam dripping down my chin. He buzzed again. I pressed the intercom. "What do you want?" "Please," he said, voice cracking. "Just let me up." I hesitated, then hit the button. A minute later, he was at my door, swaying slightly, eyes red. He smelled like whiskey and regret. "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He dropped onto my couch like his legs gave out. His hoodie was stained, and he looked like he hadn't slept in days. "Harmony left," he said. I sat across from him, silent. "She said I wasn't stable enough. Said she needed someone who could provide. She took her stuff this morning." He laughed, dry and hollow. "She even took the blender." I waited. "Mom and Dad are living in some church friend's basement. It's got one bathroom and no heat. They keep asking me what the plan is." He looked up at me, eyes full of something that might have been shame. "I don't have a plan, Raquel." "That's not my problem." He flinched. "You really hate me that much?" I shook my head. "I don't hate you, Ellis. I just finally see you." He rubbed his face. "I messed up, okay? I get it. I was dumb. I took advantage." "You didn't take advantage," I said. "You were handed everything. You were taught that I'd always be there to clean up your mess." He looked at the floor. "I stopped being your sister," I said, "the day you became my leech." He didn't respond. We sat in silence for a long time. Finally, he asked, "So that's it?" I stood. "You need help, the kind I can't give you." He looked up at me, eyes glassy. "I'm not your safety net anymore," I said. "You'll have to figure it out." He nodded slowly, then got up and walked to the door. He paused. "I'm sorry." I didn't answer. After he left, I grabbed my keys and drove. The house was dark when I pulled up. Empty now. The porch light was off, and the windows were bare. I walked up the steps and unlocked the door. The air inside was stale. The furniture was gone, just indentations in the carpet where the couch used to be. I walked through the rooms slowly. Kitchen, living room. The hallway where I used to sit with my knees to my chest, listening to them yell about money. In the corner of what used to be my room, the paint was still chipped from where I'd once hung a shelf. I stood there for a minute. Then I turned off the lights, locked the door behind me, and walked away. The ocean was louder than I remembered. Waves crashed just a few feet from where I stood, barefoot in the sand, holding a paper cup of coffee from the little stand by the pier. A breeze tugged at my jacket, salty and cold, but not unpleasant. River jogged up behind me, breathless. "Sorry, parking was a nightmare." "You're fine," I said, handing him his coffee. He smiled and took a sip. "Still drink it black, huh?" Still hate cream. We walked along the waterline, slow, quiet. The sand was damp and firm beneath our feet. A few kids were building a lopsided castle nearby. A couple walked past us, holding hands, laughing about something only they understood. "So," River said, kicking at a shell, "how's the new office?" "Small, quiet, mine," he grinned. "You finally started your own thing." "Yeah, just a few clients so far, but I'm not rushing it." "I'm proud of you," I nodded, sipping my coffee. We walked a little more before he asked, "Have you heard from them?" "Not since Ellis showed up that night." He looked at me, eyebrows raised. "He cried," I said. "I didn't enjoy it. I just didn't save him." River nodded like he understood. We stopped near a rock jetty. I sat down on a flat boulder watching the tide roll in. "I got a letter," I said. He sat beside me. "From Ellis." He waited. It wasn't long. Just said he was sorry. Said he didn't expect forgiveness. Said he's working at a hardware store now. Saving up for his own apartment. River looked at me. "You gonna write back?" I shook my head. "No." "Why not?" "Because I don't need to." He didn't push. I pulled the letter from my bag. Folded. Soft at the edges. I held it for a second, then set it down on the rock beside me. The wind picked up, tugging at the paper. I didn't stop it. It lifted into the air, tumbled once, then blew out toward the water. We watched it go. River reached over, gently touched my hand. I didn't pull away. "I'm not looking to be anyone's caretaker," I said. "Good," he said. "I'm not looking to be rescued." We sat there, quiet, letting the sounds fill the space between us. Waves, wind, laughter in the distance. I stood, brushing off my jeans. "Ready?" He stood too. "Yeah." We walked back toward the pier, side by side. No promises, no wait, just peace. And as we reached the boardwalk, I heard my own voice in my head, clear, steady, final. Karma doesn't always come with thunder. Sometimes it arrives in silence and finds you exactly where you told it to.
The moment I pulled into my driveway after a grueling 2-week business trip, I knew something was wrong. My mother's prized ceramic garden gnomes dotted my front lawn like silent sentinels, and Dad's ancient Buick was parked where my recycling bins should have been. I'm Aaliyah, and at 33, I'd spent the last decade building my life exactly how I wanted it. My house, my sanctuary, was the result of countless overtime hours and careful saving. But apparently, while I was away closing the biggest deal of my career, my parents had decided to make themselves at home. Without asking, the front door creaked open before I could even grab my suitcase from the trunk. "Welcome home, sweetie." Mom's voice carried across the yard, sugary sweet as always when she wanted something. "We've been waiting for you." I froze, my hand still on my luggage. "Mom, what's going on?" She waved dismissively, already turning back inside. Come in. Your father's watching his shows in the den." The den. My home office was now the den. I dragged my suitcase inside, the wheels catching on the new welcome mat I definitely hadn't bought. The interior stopped me dead in my tracks. Family photos I'd never hung covered the walls. Mom's gaudy decorative plates lined my minimalist shelving units. The subtle sage green walls I'd carefully chosen were now an aggressive sunshine yellow. "Mom," I managed, my voice tight. "What happened to my walls?" "Oh, they were so dreary before. I knew you'd love this color once you saw it." She bustled around the kitchen, my kitchen, pulling out casserole dishes I'd never owned. "We've been here about 10 days now. Your father's retirement started earlier than expected, and our lease was up, so we thought, why not? Why not ask me first?" I set my laptop bag down carefully, counting to 10 in my head. "Ask you? Don't be silly, we're family." She laughed like I'd told a particularly amusing joke. "Family doesn't need to ask permission. Besides, we knew you'd say yes." Dad shuffled in from my office, the den, still wearing his ancient slippers. Hey, kiddo. Your mother's made her famous pot roast. Dad? I tried to keep my voice level. You can't just move in without talking to me first. Already done now, isn't it? He shrugged, settling into my favorite reading chair. Your mother's got everything arranged just right. You'll see, it'll be nice having us here. Nice? I echoed, watching Mom rearrange my carefully organized kitchen drawers. This is my house, my space. You can't just… Aaliyah Franklin, don't you take that tone with us. Mom cut in, her voice sharp. After everything we've done for you, all those years of raising you, putting you through college. I paid for college myself, I reminded her. Every penny of it, just like I paid for this house. Well, we gave you the values that made that possible, she sniffed. Now, wash up for dinner. I made your favorite dessert too, that apple pie you loved as a child. I haven't liked apple pie since I was 12. My phone buzzed in my pocket, a text from my brother Josiah. Hey sis, heard Mom and Dad pulled their latest stunt. You okay? I typed back quickly. No, not okay. Call you later. Looking up, I caught Mom watching me expectantly, that familiar guilt-inducing smile on her face. The same one she'd worn when she'd borrowed my car for 3 months last year. When she'd given my savings account information to my cousin for an emergency. When she'd volunteered me to host every family gathering for the past 5 years. I need to unpack, I said, grabbing my suitcase. And shower. Long flight. But dinner will wait. I headed for the stairs, then stopped. Mom, Dad, this isn't permanent. We need to talk about this. Soon. Of course, sweetie, Mom called after me, her tone dismissive. Whatever you say. In my bedroom, the only space they hadn't invaded yet. I closed the door and leaned against it, sliding down to sit on the floor. My hands were shaking as I pulled out my phone again, this time to text my friend Alina. Need lawyer recommendations. ASAP. The response came quickly. Hafal. I took a deep breath and typed. Time to finally draw some boundaries. Hard ones. Downstairs, I could hear Mom humming as she continued rearranging my life without permission. But this time would be different. This time, I wasn't going to smile and accept it. This time, I was going to fight back, and they weren't going to see it coming. The next morning, I escaped to work early, desperate for some semblance of normalcy. My colleague Tyler was already at his desk, eyebrows rising as I dropped into my chair with an exhausted sigh. Rough night? He asked, sliding a coffee my way. You look like you've seen a ghost. Worse. My parents have invaded my house. I took a grateful sip. Remember last year when I told you about my mom borrowing my car? The 3-month borrowing that turned into her selling it and keeping the money? Yeah, hard to forget that one. I rubbed my temples. This is worse. They've moved in, without asking, repainted my walls, rearranged everything. My mom turned my home office into my dad's den. Tyler whistled low. And you're letting them stay? I don't know what to do, I admitted. Every time I try to stand up to them, Mom pulls the after everything we've done for you card. Like what? Making you take out student loans while they bought a timeshare? Tyler's voice dripped with sarcasm. Or maybe when they borrowed your emergency fund for your cousin's pyramid scheme? Don't forget the time they volunteered my house for Uncle Robert's wedding reception, without telling me, on a Tuesday. And you had to cater it yourself, Tyler added, while taking sick days from work. My phone buzzed, another text from Mom. Honey, we need your credit card for some new curtains. The ones you have are too modern. I showed Tyler the message, and he shook his head. You know what this is, right? Financial abuse, emotional manipulation. If they were anyone but your parents, you'd have called the cops already. I know. But no buts. Tyler turned his chair to face me fully. Remember when you first started here? You were so worried about proving yourself that you let everyone dump their work on you. What did I tell you then? That being nice doesn't mean being a doormat, I recited. Exactly. And what did you do? I started saying no, set boundaries. I smiled slightly at the memory. Became the youngest project manager in company history. So why are your parents different? I stared at my coffee cup. Because every time I try to stand up to them, I remember being 10 years old, asking for new shoes because mine had holes, and Mom saying we couldn't afford it. Then watching her buy herself a new purse the next day. Jesus, Aaliyah. Yeah. I pulled out my phone again, showing him another text from last night. But I think I'm done. I texted my friend Alina for lawyer recommendations. Tyler's face lit up. Now that's the Aaliyah I know. The one who closed the Martinez deal last week. The one who doesn't take crap from anyone. Except my parents, I muttered. Not anymore, he corrected. Look, I know a good lawyer. She specializes in tenant law. Want her number? My phone buzzed again. Mom. Also, we invited the whole family for Sunday dinner. Hope you don't mind cooking. Something inside me snapped. I thought about all the times I'd given in. All the times I'd smiled through gritted teeth while they took and took and took. The college fund they'd borrowed for a vacation. The countless family events I'd been voluntold to host. The boundaries they'd steamrolled over and over again. Give me the number, I said firmly. Tyler grinned, already dialing. Hey, Sarah. Got a potential client for you. Can you squeeze her in today? 20 minutes later, I had an appointment for my lunch break. You're doing the right thing, Tyler assured me as I gathered my things to leave. They're counting on you being too nice to fight back. Time to show them they're wrong. I know, I said quietly. I just wish that they'd be actual parents? Yeah, I get it. He squeezed my shoulder. But you can't change them. You can only change how you respond to them. As I headed for the elevator, my phone buzzed one more time. A text from Josiah. Mom just called me, complaining that you're being difficult. Whatever you're planning, I've got your back, sis. For the first time since coming home to find my parents had invaded my space, I felt something other than anxiety and dread. I felt hope. And underneath that hope, something else was building. A determination that had helped me succeed in every other area of my life. It was time to apply that same determination to my family situation. Time to stop being the dutiful daughter they could walk all over. Time to be the strong, successful woman I was in every other aspect of my life. Time to take back my home. Sarah's law office was exactly what I needed. Professional, direct, and completely unsentimental about my situation. She listened to my story without the pitying looks I'd grown used to, taking notes in sharp, precise strokes. It's actually quite straightforward, she said, sliding a document across her desk. They have no lease, no rental agreement, and no legal right to be there. You can issue a formal eviction notice today. Just like that? Just like that. They'll have 30 days to vacate. She tapped her pen against the paper. Though, given what you've told me, I'd recommend changing your locks immediately and installing security cameras. My stomach churned. You think they might? People get unpredictable when their safety net disappears. Even family, especially family. A knock at her office door interrupted us. Her assistant poked her head in. Sorry to interrupt, but there's a Josiah here? Says he's your brother? I jumped up. Is everything okay? Josiah burst in, looking worried. Mom's on the warpath. She's talking about putting the house up for sale. She can't do that, Sarah interjected smoothly. The property is solely in Aaliyah's name. Thank God, Josiah collapsed into the chair next to mine. Sorry for barging in, but when I heard her on the phone with a realtor... Wait, she's actually trying to sell my house? My voice rose. Without even talking to me? She says it's for the best, since you're clearly not ready for home ownership. He made air quotes, rolling his eyes. You know how she gets. Sarah's pen scratched across her legal pad. This actually strengthens our case. Attempting to sell property they don't own shows clear intent to interfere with your property rights. I can't believe they'd go this far, I muttered. Really? Josiah raised an eyebrow. Remember when they tried to arrange your marriage to that guy from their church? Or when Mom accidentally canceled your college applications because she thought you should stay home? Sarah looked up sharply. Pattern of controlling behavior, noted. I'll help you serve the papers, Josiah offered. And I've got videos of Mom bragging about moving in without permission, plus screenshots of her texts about selling the house. You're really on my side with this? I asked quietly. Always have been, sis. He squeezed my hand. Someone needs to stand up to them. Might as well be us. Sarah printed out the final documents, explaining each one as I signed. Remember, once these are served, the 30-day clock starts ticking. They might try to negotiate, delay, or manipulate. Don't engage. Direct all communication through my office. That evening, Josiah and I sat in my car outside my house, our parents' cars taking up the entire driveway. The eviction notice felt heavy in my hands. Ready? Josiah asked. No, I admitted. But I'm doing it anyway. We walked in to find Mom hosting what looked like an impromptu family gathering. Aunt Linda and Uncle Robert sat on my couch while Mom showed off her new curtain selections. Oh, sweetie, Mom beamed. Perfect timing. We're planning a little renovation for the kitchen. Nothing major, just knocking down that unnecessary wall. No. My voice came out stronger than I expected. You're not renovating anything. Don't be silly, it'll look so much better. This is for you and Dad. I held out the envelope. It's an eviction notice. You have 30 days to leave. The room went silent. Mom's face cycled through shock, hurt, and anger before settling on her familiar manipulation smile. Very funny, honey. Now, about the kitchen. It's not a joke. Josiah stepped forward. She's serious, Mom. Dad looked up from his newspaper. Now, kiddo, let's not be hasty. Hasty? I laughed. You moved into my house without asking. You're trying to sell it without my permission. You're planning renovations I don't want and can't afford. This isn't hasty. This is long overdue. After everything we've done for you? Mom's voice rose. This is how you repay us? Everything you've done for me. My voice shook. Like using my college fund for your timeshare? Or selling my car and keeping the money? Or maybe you mean all the times you volunteered my house, my time, and my money without asking? Aunt Linda and Uncle Robert quietly gathered their things and slipped out. Mom stared at the envelope like it might bite her. You have 30 days, I repeated. After that, anything left behind becomes my property to dispose of as I see fit. You can't do this to us, Mom whispered. Actually, I can, and I am. I turned to leave, then stopped. Oh, and Mom, if you call another realtor about my house, my lawyer will be in touch. As Josiah and I walked out, I heard Mom burst into tears, the same theatrical sobs she'd used to manipulate us our whole lives. But for the first time, they didn't make me feel guilty. They made me feel free. Josiah and I retreated to a local diner, the kind of place Mom would never set foot in because it wasn't refined enough. The vinyl booth squeaked as we slid in, and the coffee was terrible, but it felt safer than my own home right now. Your phone's blowing up too, Josiah asked, glancing at my constantly vibrating phone. 17 missed calls from Mom, 12 from Dad, and about 30 texts from various relatives telling me what a horrible daughter I am. I turned my phone face down. You? Mom's called me 6 times to tell me I'm choosing the wrong side. Dad sent one text asking if I know what I'm doing. He stirred his coffee absently. Did I ever tell you why I moved across the country for college? I always assumed it was for the program. Nah, the program at State was actually better. He leaned back. I left because I watched what they did to you. How they'd take and you'd give and give until there was nothing left. I was terrified they'd do the same to me. Why didn't you ever say anything? Same reason you never did. Guilt. Fear. The way Mom can make you feel like the worst person in the world for having boundaries. He pulled out his phone, showing me a text. Like this gem from 10 minutes ago. Your sister is breaking your father's heart. He might not survive this stress. Dad's heart is fine, I snorted. He just had a checkup last month. Yeah, but watch. Next will come the your father's blood pressure texts, then the he's not sleeping updates, and finally the if anything happens to him, it's your fault, grand finale. My phone buzzed again. Alina this time. I answered on speaker. Girl, your mother just called me. Alina's voice crackled through. Wanted me to talk some sense into you. I told her I fully support your decision and she hung up on me. She's working her way through my contact list, I sighed. Did she try the heart condition story? No, she went with, we'll be homeless this time. I reminded her they have plenty of money from selling your car last year. Josiah choked on his coffee. Damn, Alina. You really said that? Someone had to. I've watched them take advantage of Aaliyah for years. Remember when they borrowed her emergency fund and gave it to that cousin for his pyramid scheme? Or when they volunteered my house for Uncle Robert's wedding? I finished. Yes, we've been cataloging their greatest hits. Speaking of hits, Josiah pulled up his phone's gallery. I've got videos of Mom bragging about moving in without permission. Want to see? The video showed Mom at some family gathering, laughing as she described how they'd surprised me. She's so focused on her career, she needs us to take care of her house properly, Video Mom said. We didn't ask because she would have said no, and really, what kind of daughter says no to her parents? Send that to Sarah, I said immediately, and any other videos you have. Already did, along with screenshots of Mom's texts about selling your house. He paused. You know this is going to get worse before it gets better, right? I know. I finally checked my messages. Oh look, right on schedule. Dad's blood pressure is apparently through the roof. Called it, Josiah grinned. Want to bet on when the not sleeping text comes? You two are handling this surprisingly well, Alina observed. Because for the first time we're not handling it alone, I realized. We've got each other. We've got you. We've got legal backup. We've got proof, Josiah added. Hard to gaslight us when we've got receipts. My phone lit up with another call, this time from Tyler. Hey, how'd it go? About as well as expected. Mom's working her way through my contact list, Dad's supposedly dying of stress, and half the family thinks I'm Satan incarnate. So, a normal Tuesday for your family? Tyler laughed. Need me to be your work alibi tomorrow? Please, I'm not ready to face them again yet. You know, Josiah said after I hung up, this is the first time I've seen you smile while talking about them. Usually you get this tight look around your eyes, like you're bracing for impact. Usually I am. I straightened up. But not anymore. I'm done being their safety net, their ATM, their free event planner, and their doormat. Speaking of doormats, Alina chimed in from the speaker, your mom apparently bought new ones for your house. Pink flamingos. I groaned. Of course she did. Add it to the list of things they've done to my house without permission. Already did. Josiah held up a notebook. We're up to 17 violations of your property rights in just 2 weeks. Sarah's gonna love this. For the first time since this all started, I felt truly confident in my decision. Looking at my brother's supportive grin and hearing Alina's fierce loyalty through the phone, I knew I wasn't just fighting for my house anymore. I was fighting for myself. 3 days after serving the eviction notice, I came home to find Mom had organized an intervention in my living room. Aunts, uncles, and various family friends filled my furniture, all wearing expressions of concerned disappointment. Honey, Mom started, her voice wobbling perfectly. We're all here because we're worried about you. No, I cut in, dropping my work bag. You're all here because Mom told you her version of events. Did she mention moving in without asking? Or trying to sell my house without my permission? Aunt Linda shifted uncomfortably. Nancy, you said you had permission. Of course we had permission. Mom waved dismissively. We're her parents. Being my parents doesn't give you the right to take over my life. I pulled out my phone. Josiah, you recording this? Yep. My brother emerged from the kitchen, phone held high. Got it all, including Mom's admission that she thinks being a parent means automatic permission. You're recording us? Uncle Robert sputtered. This is a private family matter. Nothing's private anymore, I said firmly. Not after Mom called my boss trying to get me fired so I'd be more dependent on family. The room went silent. Even Mom looked shocked that I knew about that. Oh yeah, Josiah added cheerfully. My friend in HR forwarded that voicemail to me. Want to hear it, everyone? Mom's very creative with her concerns about Aaliyah's mental stability. I was trying to help, Mom protested weakly. Help? I laughed. Like when you helped by selling my car? Or helping yourself to my emergency fund? Or maybe like you're helping now by trying to force me out of my own house? Dad finally spoke up from his corner. Kiddo, we just thought, that's the problem, Dad. You never think. You just go along with whatever Mom wants, even when it hurts your kids. We've given you everything. Mom's voice rose sharply. Everything we had went to giving you opportunities. Really? I pulled out Sarah's folder. Here's my college loan statements, my car payments, my mortgage documents, everything I've earned myself while you took credit for it. Aunt Linda stood up suddenly. Nancy, you told us you paid for her college. We contributed, Mom faltered. By contributing, do you mean the college fund you emptied for your timeshare? Josiah asked innocently. Because I have those bank statements too. One by one, the family members began to look uncomfortable. Uncle Robert checked his watch and muttered about needing to leave. Aunt Linda was scrolling through her phone, probably finding all the times Mom had bragged about their contributions to my success. You're turning our family against us, Mom accused, tears starting right on cue. No, Mom. Your lies are doing that all on their own. 25 days, Josiah announced cheerfully. That's how long you have to find a new place. Might want to start packing instead of organizing family ambushes. We're not leaving, Dad said firmly. This is our home now. Actually, I pulled out another document. Sarah filed a restraining order this morning. If you're not out in 25 days, the sheriff will remove you. You'd do that to your own parents? Mom's voice cracked perfectly. You tried to get me fired, I reminded her, to make me dependent on you. That's when I realized this isn't about family. It's about control. The remaining relatives were quietly gathering their things, avoiding eye contact. Mom's carefully orchestrated intervention was crumbling around her. Linda, Robert, wait! She called desperately. You can't leave. We need to show Aaliyah how unreasonable she's being. Aunt Linda paused at the door. Nancy, you lied to us. You lied about paying for her college, about having permission to move in. What else have you lied about? I never, Mom started, but Josiah was already playing a video on his phone. Mom bragging about moving in while I was away, laughing about how I couldn't stop them now. The last relatives fled, leaving just my parents, Josiah and me. 25 days, I repeated, and if anything else in this house is damaged, sold, or renovated without my permission, Sarah will add it to the civil suit. Civil suit? Dad paled. For the car you sold, the emergency fund you took, and the property damage you've already done. I headed for the stairs. I'm staying at Alina's until you leave. Josiah has cameras set up throughout the house, so don't get any ideas. We're your parents, Mom tried one last time. You can't just... Actually, I can. And I am. I grabbed my overnight bag, already packed, knowing this confrontation was coming. You taught me that family is everything, Mom. You just never expected me to realize that includes respecting myself. As Josiah and I walked out, we could hear Mom starting to cry again. But this time, there was no audience to manipulate. No one to turn against me. Just the sound of consequences finally catching up to her. The security camera notification pinged on my phone while I was at work. Mom was removing paintings from my walls, not her decorations, but my original artwork. I watched in real time as she carefully wrapped each piece. "They're stealing my art now," I told Tyler, showing him the feed. "Call Sarah," he said immediately. "Document everything." Before I could dial, my phone rang, Dad's number. I put it on speaker. "Your mother's just packing some old family heirlooms," he started without preamble. "Those paintings aren't heirlooms, Dad. I painted them myself. In college, the college I paid for." "Well," he hedged, "your mother feels they'd be better appreciated in her care." "Put her on the phone." Mom's voice came through, sickly sweet. "Honey, I just think, put my paintings back, or I call the police. Right now." "You wouldn't dare." I pulled up the non-emergency line on my office phone. "Try me." Through the security feed, I watched Mom slowly return each painting, muttering under her breath the entire time. Tyler gave me a thumbs up. 19 days left, I reminded them before hanging up. That evening, Josiah met me at Alina's place with takeout and updates. "Mom's called every realtor in town," he reported. "They all turned her down after Sarah sent them warning letters." "How's Dad handling it?" "Actually," Josiah pulled out his phone. "He called me earlier. Listen." He played a voice message. "Son, I know we've made mistakes. Your mother, she means well, but maybe we went too far this time." "Call me back?" "He's cracking," Alina observed from her kitchen. "Your mom's starting to lose her grip on him." My phone buzzed, another security alert. Mom was in my home office, going through my files. That's it. I dialed Sarah's number. "They've gone too far." Within an hour, we were back at my house with a police escort. Mom was still in my office, papers spread across the desk. "Mrs. Franklin," the officer called out. "You need to step away from those documents." Mom spun around, clutching some papers. "These prove Aaliyah owes us. All the money we've spent on her." "Those are my private financial records," I cut in. "And my work documents. You're committing several crimes right now." "Officer," Dad appeared in the doorway. "This is just a family disagreement." "This is breaking and entering, theft, and corporate espionage," Sarah corrected, stepping forward. "My client specifically revoked your access to her home office." "You can't revoke our access. We live here." "Illegally," the officer pointed out. "You were served an eviction notice. This room was specifically marked as off-limits in that notice." Mom's face crumpled. "We just wanted to prove that you've been financially supporting me?" I grabbed the papers from her hands. "These prove the opposite. Every loan I've paid off, every car payment, every mortgage payment, all while you were taking money from me." "We're your parents," she shrieked. "Everything you have is because of us." "No," Josiah stepped forward. "Everything she has is despite you." Dad touched Mom's arm. "Nancy, maybe we should—" "Don't you dare take their side," she whirled on him. "After everything we've sacrificed." "What exactly have you sacrificed?" I demanded. "Name one thing you've given up for me, one thing you've actually done to help me succeed." The silence was deafening. "Mrs. Franklin," the officer said quietly, "you need to leave this room now. You can either respect the eviction notice and remain in the permitted areas of the house for the next 19 days, or you can be removed immediately. Your choice." Mom looked around wildly, finding no allies. Even Dad was backing away, his face troubled. "Fine," she spat. "Take your precious papers, but don't come crying to us when you realize family is all you have." "That's exactly what I realized," I said calmly, "which is why I'm protecting myself from you." After Mom stormed out, Dad lingered in the doorway. "Kiddo, I never meant for things to get this far." "But you let them, Dad. You always let them." He nodded slowly. "I'll start packing tomorrow. And I'll make sure your mother doesn't touch anything else." After they left, Sarah helped me gather my scattered documents while the officer wrote up his report. 19 days, Alina mused, helping me reorganize my files. Want to bet they try something else before then? No bet, Josiah and I said simultaneously. But something had shifted. Dad's quiet surrender, Mom's desperate document search. They were running out of options, running out of ways to manipulate the situation, running out of time. I locked my office door, knowing they'd probably try again tomorrow. But for the first time, I wasn't worried. They were finally realizing I wasn't their safety net anymore. I was their wake-up call. 5 days before the eviction deadline, my security cameras caught Mom trying to remove my grandmother's antique mirror, the only family heirloom I actually owned, gifted directly to me in Grandma's will. "Don't you dare," I said from the doorway, making her jump. "That's not yours to take." "Your grandmother would be ashamed of you," Mom shot back, still gripping the mirror, "throwing your parents out on the street." "You have a fully paid-for condo in Florida," I reminded her, "the one you bought with my car money." "That's different. This is our home now." "No, it's not." I stepped closer. "And if you don't let go of that mirror right now, I'm calling the police. Again." Dad appeared behind me. "Nancy, leave the mirror, please." "You're taking her side again?" Mom's voice rose to that familiar pitch that usually made us all back down. "Not this time." "I'm taking the side of not getting arrested," Dad said quietly. "We've gone too far, Nancy. Way too far." "We haven't gone far enough." She yanked the mirror, sending it crashing to the floor. The shattering sound echoed through the house. 7 years of bad luck, Grandma would have said. But watching Mom's face as she realized what she'd done, I felt nothing but relief. It was over. "Officer Martinez?" I spoke into my phone. "Yes, they're destroying property again. Yes, I have it on video." Mom's face went pale. "You were on the phone this whole time?" "Ever since the security system alerted me you were touching my things. Again." Police sirens wailed in the distance. Dad sank into a chair, head in his hands. "Nancy, pack a bag. We're leaving, now." "We most certainly are not." "Yes, we are." His voice was firm for the first time in my memory. "I'm not getting arrested because you can't accept that we were wrong." "Wrong?" She laughed hysterically. "Wrong to help our daughter? Wrong to want to be close to her?" "Wrong to move in without asking," he countered. "Wrong to try selling her house. Wrong to call her boss. Wrong to steal her artwork. Wrong to go through her work documents. And very wrong to break her grandmother's mirror." Red and blue lights flashed through the windows. Mom's face crumpled into her familiar tears, but no one moved to comfort her. "Mrs. Franklin," Officer Martinez said as he entered, "we meet again. Oh, destruction of property this time?" "It was an accident," she wailed. "On video," I added, holding up my phone. "Pack your bags," the officer ordered. "You're leaving tonight. Mr. Franklin, you too." "Already packing," Dad called from upstairs. Mom looked around wildly, finding no allies. But where will we go?" "Your condo in Florida," I suggested. "The one you bought with my stolen car money? Or maybe Uncle Robert's guest house? The one you volunteered me to renovate last year?" "You're enjoying this," she accused. "Enjoying hurting your own mother." "No, Mom. I'm just finally standing up to you. There's a difference." Dad came downstairs with 2 packed bags. "Nancy, let's go. We've done enough damage." "Grant, you can't seriously." "I can and I am." He turned to me. "Kiddo, I'm sorry. For everything. Not just this, but for never standing up to her before. For letting her take advantage of you all these years." "Sorry doesn't fix it, Dad." "I know." He handed me an envelope. "But maybe this will help. It's not everything we owe you, but it's a start. I sold my boat." Mom gasped. "You didn't." "I did. Should cover the car money at least." He picked up their bags. "Coming, Nancy?" She looked between us, mascara running down her face. "You'll regret this," she said finally. "Both of you. When you need us?" "We won't," Dad cut in. "That's the point. We've lost them both, Nancy. And it's our fault." Officer Martinez escorted them out. I watched through the window as they loaded their bags into their car, Mom still crying, Dad just looking tired. Josiah appeared beside me. You okay?
Better than okay. I opened Dad's envelope, a cashier's check for the exact amount they'd gotten for my car. I think it's really over. Mom will try again, he warned. Probably, but Dad won't back her up anymore, and without him enabling her, she's powerless, he finished. We watched their car pull away, Mom's face set in a familiar expression of martyred suffering. But for the first time, it didn't make me feel guilty. It made me feel free. Want help cleaning up the mirror? Josiah offered. Yeah. I turned away from the window. And then maybe we can finally start fixing everything else they broke. Starting with ourselves. The morning sun streamed through my freshly painted sage green walls as I sipped coffee in my reclaimed home office. No more den, no more invasion, just peace and the soft clicking of my laptop keys. My phone buzzed. A text from Dad. Your mother's trying to plan a surprise visit for Easter. Thought you should know. Thanks for the warning, I replied. But she knows the rules. No unannounced visits. I'll remind her, he wrote back. How's the house? Back to normal, finally. The doorbell rang, and I opened it to find Josiah juggling grocery bags. Ready for our first drama-free family dinner? Just us, Alina, and Tyler? I helped him with the bags. Absolutely. Dad texted you about Mom's Easter plans? Yep, not happening. He grinned. Look at you, holding those boundaries like a pro. The kitchen was exactly as I wanted it. No knockdown walls, no gaudy decorations, just clean lines and calm colors. As we prepped dinner, another text came through. Mom this time. Your father's being unreasonable about Easter. Of course you want us to visit. I'm your mother. I showed Josiah, who snorted. Want me to handle it? No, I got this. I typed, any visits need to be arranged in advance with my explicit permission. Those are the rules. If you can't respect them, you can't visit. But we're family. Yes, we are, and family respects boundaries. I muted the conversation as Alina arrived with dessert. Your mom trying the Easter guilt trip too? How'd you know? She called me earlier. I told her my apartment was too small to host her when you inevitably said no. Tyler showed up last, bearing wine and news. So, remember how your mom tried to get you fired? The board just approved your promotion to senior manager. Apparently, her calls actually made them look closer at your work record. Karma's a beautiful thing. Josiah laughed, pouring wine. We settled around my dining table. My choice of furniture, my choice of guests, my choice of evening. No guilt, no manipulation, no drama. My phone lit up with another text from Dad. Handled the Easter situation. We'll stay in Florida. Maybe in a few months when your mother's ready to actually apologize, we can discuss a proper visit. He's really changed, Josiah observed, reading over my shoulder. We all have, I replied. Speaking of change, Alina raised her glass. To Aaliyah's new backbone. To boundaries, Tyler added. To choosing our own family, Josiah finished. As we laughed and shared stories, I looked around my table. Here was my real family. The brother who stood by me, the friends who supported me, the home I'd built for myself. No guilt, no obligation, just genuine love and respect. My phone buzzed one last time. Mom again. I suppose we could call before visiting, if you insist on being so formal with your own mother. Progress. Small, grudging, but progress. We'll talk about it, I replied, when you're ready to have an honest conversation about everything that happened. I was only trying to help. Mom, boundaries. A long pause, then. Fine. We'll do it your way. I showed the exchange to Josiah, who whistled. Holy shit, she actually backed down. Because she knows she has no choice, Tyler pointed out. You've shown her you won't cave anymore. You know what the best part is?
I said, refilling everyone's glasses. I don't feel guilty. At all. I used to feel guilty for just existing in a way they didn't approve of. But now? Now you're free, Alina finished. Free to have my own life, my own home, my own choices. Free to have terrible taste in wall colors, Josiah teased, dodging my playful swat. Free to choose who sits at my table, I added, looking at my chosen family. Speaking of choices, Tyler raised his glass again. To the newest senior manager at the firm. As we celebrated, I caught my reflection in the window. No tension around my eyes, no worried crease in my forehead. Just peace, confidence, strength. Mom's latest text remained unanswered on my phone. She'd learned to live with that, just as I'd learned to live without her approval. Dad was trying, Josiah was thriving, and I was finally, truly home. Who wants dessert? Alina asked, bringing out her famous cheesecake. Only if you share the recipe this time, I laughed. Family secret, she winked. But you're family now, so maybe. Family. Not by obligation or guilt or manipulation, but by choice, by love, by respect. And that made all the difference.